And we're live! Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to be talking about aging and the coronavirus. I have Brent and Allie here. We have Bobby. And let's start it off. Brent.
What's up, guys? So we want to try and drop some knowledge with you all about the coronavirus and how it relates to aging and age-related diseases in humans.
All right, yeah. So Brent was just explaining to me that basically the coronavirus is mainly killing very elderly people because they have a compromised immune system. So the potential dangers of this might be exaggerated by the media. Is that right, Brent?
Yeah, and this shouldn't be too shocking to most people if you understand how the media works. They're all about clicks. They're all about sensationalizing things. They're all about, they're not really about facts most of the time, even though they say that they are. So there's a graphic that I'm looking at right now. I mean, I don't think we'll be able to see that.
I'll pull that graphic up.
Yeah, so basically what it's showing is that out of the people who are dying from the coronavirus, which isn't really that many people yet, compared to 110,000 people die every single day from aging or age-related diseases. But out of the people that have died, which is currently 72,314 cases, this was a little bit ago, but in any event, 80 plus years of age people, that's 14.8%.
Right.
70 to 79 years is 8%. 60 to 69 years is 3.6%. 50 to 59, 1.3%. 40 to 49.4%. 30 to 39.2%. 20 to 29.2%. And 10 to 19-year-olds, 0.2%. And 0 to 9-year-olds, no fatalities. So clearly, you know, coronavirus is a disease that affects people who are already old, and we know why it's affecting them more because we're life extension researchers. So it's affecting them because they're older and they have a compromised immune system. So I don't want to do all the talking. There's more to kind of dive into this, but that's the general thing that I want people to understand. And we're trying to educate people every single day about the things that you can do to slow down, stop, and maybe even reverse human aging. And one thing that you can do is stop worrying about the coronavirus because you're probably going to be fine. So I'll let other people chime in.
What do you think about the idea that the coronavirus could mutate? Some people are saying, okay, it could mutate and then it could start being a lot more deadly. Are you worried? Should we be worried about that at all?
Yeah, that's something that's a legitimate concern from what I've looked into. And first, I want to say, I'm not a coronavirus expert. I've watched some videos on this stuff, and I've read a little bit on the internet about it.
I don't think anyone's a coronavirus expert yet.
Yeah, Bobby, that's a really good point. There are no experts. That's kind of the problem. There's people who study, viral outbreaks and make vaccines and things. But obviously, the fact that it's still a problem it shows you that nobody's an expert. But essentially, the reason why some of those experts are fearful of it is because this virus isn't mutating like many viruses do, like by DNA. It's mutating by mRNA, which is much, much faster. It allows the virus to mutate faster, and it is mutating faster. It is spreading faster than some other things like the Spanish flu has in the past, which ended up killing a lot of people. But there's a few things here. The things that I already mentioned, it's only mainly killing older people. But also, we're not living in the time of the Spanish flu. We're living in 2020, where we have very, very good sanitation practices in the first world. And I don't want to say really bad things about China. I was in Shanghai a couple years ago, and I was at just a shopping center, and they didn't have any soap at a major shopping center in Shanghai and the restrooms there. And this is something that I just want the first world people who might be watching, probably in Americas, where I believe probably most of your audience is, to kind of really understand. some of these general hygiene practices that we take for granted in the US, like washing your hands after you use the toilet, just don't seem to be practiced in the same way. So I might get some hate comments coming from that based off maybe people who live in China, but I want to reiterate, this is firsthand experience. I personally was in a restroom in Shanghai in a huge shopping center. I saw a guy who clearly was wearing a chef outfit, so he's a chef working at one of the restaurants, walk in to take a poop in a toilet, which, by the way, they didn't have a toilet. They have a hole in the ground. That's hard for most Americans and first world people to understand. And then he walked out. They had running water there, but didn't even wash his hands. He just walked out. But there wasn't any soap for him to use anyways. So
Wow.
things like that, it's kind of mind-boggling, but that's how this virus was spread. But maybe that's has something to do with it spreading so much in China.
Right.
But
Bobby, did you have something to say? Because you unmuted yourself. I was just wondering.
Sorry,
You guys-
just remind me.
We told
me if
Bobby,
you,
mute yourself when you're not talking. We scolded him because he has such bad audio in the background.
Yeah, sorry, I'm at Starbucks, everyone. But I'll make sure I mute myself when I'm not talking.
Okay.
But just remind me in case I forget.
Okay.
But with coronavirus, yeah, is that considered a pandemic yet?
I mean, some people are saying it's kind of a pandemic. It's spreading really fast because the people are spreading it when they're not even showing symptoms. So you can be spreading it when you look healthy and up to 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something before you even show symptoms.
yeah, and by the way, those statistics that I was sharing, that's from the World O Meter, worldometers.info. And some of that might be a little bit outdated. It might have been from yesterday. As far as those numbers that I've given. But the general point is that this is overwhelmingly killing people of advanced age. And, these are people who are already basically closer and closer to death, where we don't even know if they might have been dying or had some other disease too. So it's kind of like the healthcare system right now, where you spend all this money at the end of your life to try and save you when you're in this weakened, horrible state. What the people on this, YouTube channel right now talking, and hopefully a lot of our viewers probably already understand, is that we're trying to educate you how to stay as biologically young and healthy as possible right now, based off the actual science that we know, and then educate people about the exciting science that seems to be coming along that is intriguing, that is hopefully right around the corner as well. So this is just really different from taking the approach of freaking out about something like the coronavirus, which you generally can't do anything yourself, right, to fix it, other than the things we've already talked about, things you should be doing already anyways, like living a healthy lifestyle and washing your hands, So I do understand people are freaking out about this because the media is still very powerful, and it's even affected the stock market. And I'm invested in Tesla, and it's affected my wealth with Tesla going down. So
China could be so much stronger right now if the government wasn't completely ruined, because first off, they have so many people, they have so many geniuses, right? And their work ethic is unreal, right? It's like they have damn near Elon Musk's over there, right? Except for Elon, you can't get to Elon. So. Maybe there's some secret government people who are at Elon's level that we don't know about because they're hidden, but they're not as cool as Elon because they're not public. And but China, dude, they really effed up. They're too power hungry, and then now look at, dude, what happened? They're on their knees because of a virus that could have been prevented if they just had sanitation, if they just had basics, right, for their people. But they don't care about their greed has blinded them, and now they are weak because of it, when they could be number one easily.
Maybe we should talk a little bit about things people could do, if they are a little concerned about the coronavirus. What they could just do to enhance their immune systems? Do you guys have an immune system strategy? Well, on this channel, I've talked a lot about NAC. It's a supplement I strongly believe in for enhancing the immune system. Do you guys have an immune system strategy or a foods? Some people are into eating raw garlic. That's pretty cool because it's pretty cheap and it's widely available. What do you guys are doing for your immune system?
I mean, Rowan, I agree with those methods that you just used, but I don't really want people to just think they need to be strengthening their immune system right now when the coronavirus is, in the news. You should just be living a healthy lifestyle every single day to slow as much as possible, possibly even stop or maybe even reverse some aspects or maybe even all of your biological aging going on in your body. And if maybe the coronavirus is what wakes you up to see this video, then great. But that's the only relevance the coronavirus should have here in this from a statistical standpoint. It's not something that you should be thinking about much and worrying about. I mean, let's be honest, we're putting it in the title here kind of as clickbait to get trending, to get to kind of think about this and understand what is the things that you should really be fearing, which from a data standpoint, again, about 150,000 people die every day, and about 110,000 of those people are dying from age-related diseases. So,
right.
To answer your question more directly, and then I want to have Max chime in. He hasn't even introduced himself, but yeah, all the things that we talk about, getting good sleep. It all starts with getting good sleep. I talk about that and give great tips on my YouTube channel. I've interviewed the sleep doctor, Dr. Michael Brews. He's on mainstream media all the time, has written multiple books. Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep, is great. He's got tons of podcasts on YouTube and interviews, tons of phenomenal information. So sleep is first. Diet, exercise, eating, healthy foods. Rowan, you on this channel, I could talk about, very specific, like really healthy, maybe not well-known foods that I think are all really great, but just your basic, daily fruits and vegetables, getting 8, servings of daily fruits and vegetables that are organic every single day, thinking positively, not worrying about the coronavirus all the time, because that is really poor for your health. Stressing about things that you have no control over is bad for your health and for your life and your productivity.
Right.
I think it's definitely promising, the fact that, you could see how big changes are going on with the economic world and the market going on with the coronavirus. That just shows you that there is a lot of people that are in fear of things that could kill you, right? Like the coronavirus and things that could disrupt, the health, health and everything around the world. So that's definitely a reason for showing how important it is to really affect the number one killer for all of everybody is just age-related diseases. If we can focus on that and put that as a priority, that's how we can save the vast majority of everybody. It's like Rowan was saying, like Brent was saying, the coronavirus, majority of the cases are all very mild, and it's not an extremely deadly disease like, what we heard about in the past, like the Black Plague and, those kind of things. This is nothing like those diseases. So
I just read a news story that said.
Another side note that I wanted to say is that just to quickly introduce myself, and maybe Max should introduce himself after. But so my name is Bobby Ridge, and so we, all of us, all 4 of us, and a couple others, we're starting a podcast, and we're discussing about the defeat of death, right? Extending our maximum lifespan and defeating death through science and technology. And we have very good evidence that this will occur fairly soon. Some of us think, are questioning that more than others, and so, but we present a lot of the evidence through these live streams on our channels, and so the more you help us, the more you subscribe to our channels, the greater chance we have of defeating death, essentially. And we're doing a lot more than just YouTube. We're directly involved in the research, we're indirectly involved in the research, and it's really great. We're compiling interviews with elite scientists and wealthy investors and people involved in this area of defeating death. And so, go to my channel, Life Extension Research, YouTube channel. Definitely subscribe. Subscribe to Brent Nally's Eternal Life Fan Club. Max will be getting a channel soon. And yeah, we look forward to living with you all forever.
Heck yes. That's
all
the
of you
goal, living forever. I mean, that's the whole reason why we're even at all concerned with the coronavirus. I wouldn't even be concerned with the coronavirus or aging or anything if I didn't want to freaking live forever. That's the whole point of everything. You said it.
Absolutely. Aging is what we all know is the number one killer in the world, and that's what we need to be as our number one priority. Is if we can cure aging, we can cure just about every disease on Earth currently. So that should be the number one priority. If we can get that word out to everybody, That's the sad truth about it is it's not a really high publicized thing of how important it is to stop aging. But it is publicized and proven that aging affects most all the diseases that kill us. So if we can tackle that and prove that aging, because I believe aging is a disease, then it kills all the birds with every stone. Cancer, heart disease, all those diseases have been proven because of aging. That's why you don't see, very rarely do you see kids, newborns, 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds get heart disease or cancer and those kind of things. It happens, but very, very, very rare. So it's proven that if we can get rid of aging, we can really make a huge impact in tackling all the diseases that kill us. So.
Well said.
And I want to say one thing on that. So Dr. Aubrey de Grey is a leader in this life extension movement, and he was just on Joe Rogan a couple of days ago. I highly recommend everybody check out that interview as well as his previous interview in 2015 on Joe Rogan. And one thing that I asked Aubrey when I interviewed him in July of 2019 is about aging being called a disease. And he doesn't believe it should be called a disease or is a disease. So I don't want to get tied up in the semantics too much. He likes to call aging a medical condition, but regardless of the semantics here of what we call aging, I think it's important to classify it as a disease because in the U.S., according to the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, only a drug can cure, treat, or prevent a disease. And so we want, the research for all of these drugs to be going into curing aging because that is what the data clearly shows is causing all of these chronic diseases. So you hear that heart disease, is like the number one killer. But really heart disease is, as Max just so eloquently stated, really just primarily a disease of aging. Yes, you can see some very rare cases where heart disease affects, people in their 20s and 30s and things like that. Yes, you see cancer in children. There's even a very rare disease that maybe 20 or so children have on the planet at any one time, maybe 20 to 30. It's called progeria. It's horrible. These kids are born with short telomeres, and they get really, really short. Telomeres are the end caps of your chromosomes. I'm sure much of the audience have heard about them. So in any event, they die by the time they're like 20, at most, and they die looking like little old people. They have all these diseases of aging. And so, but let's not get caught up in these very, very rare outliers. Let's focus on the overwhelming data, which is showing that aging is essentially the disease that's driving all these other chronic diseases.
Yeah. Now, Brent, you watched the full interview with Aubrey. Do you want to point out some of the coolest moments or give a little synopsis of some? Did he say anything new that maybe we've never heard before?
Yeah, real quick, actually, Rowan, before I get to that, you might have seen me pick up this book from my bookshelf back there. It's because Max talked about, how markets globally are freaking out about coronavirus. So I just want to say real briefly, I'm invested in Tesla, and Tesla just opened a Shanghai factory, and their stock has been tanking all this week. The stock market overall is down like 12% this last week. It was the biggest loss, from a point standpoint ever because the stock market's grown so much. And I believe it was the biggest percent loss in like 10 years. Somebody, in fact, Max might know. I think it was since 2010. But I want people to understand something, that this genius has taught me. George Soros, I don't agree with all of his political beliefs, so I want to get that out there. But the man is a proven.
Alex Jones is going to call you soon.
I know. Like, oh my God, George Soros and blah. So forget all that stuff. Let's just talk about his objective, investment, how he's objectively been an incredibly succable investor over many generations. He's worth like $22 billion or so.
We just lost because you just showed his book, dude. You mean Alex viewers we just lost?
Right. I get it. I promise I understand. I've listened to Alex Jones a lot. I've heard him talk about George Soros. And many of the things that Alex Jones has said about George Soros are very well founded. However, let's just talk about...
Just because Hitler, just because he picks up a piece of litter doesn't mean that, littering now is a good thing. Like even
Exactly.
people can still do good things, you know,
Yeah,
and you could extract that from them. But people, a lot of people, that's just too much for them to grasp, you know.
Right. So, Bobby, it's a really good point. The way I like to describe it is you have to be able to separate ideas from people. There can be really bad people who have really good ideas. So align with that idea of theirs, that's great, but then shrug off, the person and their identity. So with that being said, George Soros, this book was written in 1987. It's called The Alchemy of Finance. It was rewritten, updated in 2003. And it's an incredible book. And basically what he's talking about in here is he went to the London School of Economics for his degree, 60 years ago, because he's in his 80s now. And he had a professor there named Karl Popper who introduced him to this theory. And this theory basically talks about how you could be following a trend, right? And just because you don't necessarily agree with the mass herd, you still might want to follow it because you think it's still going up. So I think in this case, right now, the coronavirus is just having this negative downward effect where as an investor, even if you know all the stuff that we're talking about here, that coronavirus probably isn't that big of a deal in the long term and certainly isn't that big of a deal right now. As far as the number of people that they've objectively killed, people are still kind of getting out of the stock market off of fears of what could potentially happen. So don't let my general message, and then I'm going to be quiet here. My general message here is don't let the fact that the stock market is freaking out about the coronavirus and it's going down in many places add to your fears about the coronavirus actually having a potential effect on your health, because it's incredibly unlikely. So that's all I wanted to state.
If you guys had to say
you're taking over.
If you guys had to say like the main lesson we could take from this coronavirus, what would it be? For me, it'd be like, okay, maybe we shouldn't eat bats. Maybe we shouldn't eat weird animals. Maybe we should be more sanitary as far as like these meat markets and things like that. What would you guys say is like the lesson here to really take out of it?
I'll go since the others are silent. So first of all, it hasn't actually been objectively confirmed where and how the coronavirus actually started. There's reports, there's official reports from the Chinese government, but I'm very skeptical. I don't believe any person publicly knows how it actually started. And if it did start from bats or other exotic animals, then yes, that's a really good lesson to take. Even forget whether it did or didn't happen. Don't eat those exotic animals that might be carrying diseases. So I think that that's definitely true. But the big lesson that I want to the audience to understand is that you need to be a data-driven person with every single thing in your life. You have the tools now. If you have access to this live stream that we're doing, then you have access to the internet. And you can do Google searches and you can learn how to search what is a real threat to your life and your health and what's not. And my main message is that right now, coronavirus is generally not a threat to you and your family compared to other things like aging, which is a threat and something that you should be worried about and taking action to stop, slow, and reverse aging.
Heck yeah.
And just to on that too, I think my solution to it is what we should learn from it is there's always new things that we're afraid of. Right now it's the coronavirus. There's always new things. One of the things that that I'm sure all the viewers here know about is back in the day, back in the 50s, especially the older audience, they always said saturated fat was the killer. That was the one that causes heart disease, right? Everybody knows Dr. Enkel Keys. He's the one that really showed that to everybody, and everybody just started becoming afraid of anything with fat in it, right? Mm-hmm. What's happened in the past 10 years? The ketogenic diet, right? Everybody now proves that fat is actually the health. You should have fat. Fat is really good for longevity in terms of health and all sorts of things. So the point is, what I'm saying is those things constantly change back and forth through new things and new technology, and the biggest thing that we should focus on, like what we've all talked about, is aging. And aging has been proven since day one that every disease is caused by it. As I said earlier, that's why you see the young kids, younger adults, you don't see them getting as many of these diseases. Really, for the most part, they're all mostly healthy. There's some that aren't, but for the most part they are. So we should focus on the battle of aging, and that should be our number one priority through all these downward trends, through new things that are discovered that can scare us and make the economy do bad, from like the coronavirus. So
Yeah. When did you guys really?
Yeah, so the coronavirus, really teaches us how at risk we are, how much of an existential risk it is. The viruses and pandemics, essentially. It's an existential risk, and it's something that we do not take serious enough. And tomorrow there could be a monster that's even worse that comes out and just wipes out so much of us that we just can't, we can't get back to where we're at right now. It's going to take another century, and so we really are not ready for something like that, and it's freaking terrifying.
Heck yeah.
Rowan, the final thing that I'll say, like in relation to markets and stuff, stock markets and markets in general, they're always trying to predict the future. So they do not like things that are unpredictable. And so right now, because the coronavirus is seen as, unpredictable and how it mutates and how fast it could potentially mutate and what could happen, that's the main reason why I think markets are freaking out. And so, but again, there's nothing right now that you probably as the viewer sitting there can do about this other than the things that you already should be doing to live as long and healthy as possible, which is what you should be doing, because that aging is way more likely to kill you than the coronavirus.
Right. So maybe we should tell them, the audience, what's the main thing they could all be doing to speed up the cures for aging? What can they do besides just supporting our channels?
I say just getting involved, right. do research about it and learn about it, and learn, it's a growing, new industry. It's been around, since, forever. A lot of philosophers back in the day have always talked about aging, and even religions practice it. So if you do research and more awareness goes out towards it, and we can get more donations, more money, and to be able to tackle it and cure it, because us four here, we're all very confident that we can cure the disease, and I consider aging as the disease, and if we can cure that, it kills all the other diseases, cancer, heart disease, everything else. So I feel if we bring enough awareness to it, we can tackle it. So I would encourage everybody, all the viewers here, to talk about it with your family, talk about it with your coworkers, talk about it with your friends, your neighbors. Just bring awareness to it, and bringing awareness to it helps bring out more donations and more research towards it, and clinical trials and all those kind of things that can eventually tackle it and cure it. So
right.
And something really important. I mean, we're gonna blog like a list of things that everyone can do, no matter what your profession is, And so that'll be a really cool blog. But also, something really important you can do is DM me, Bobby Ridge, or Max Anderson, or any of the dudes, because we have a job that you can do. We can, we can't start paying you yet, but we can start paying you pretty soon. And so, you can volunteer and get involved, because we're building a company right now, and our company is going to be huge. And so we're likely going to need help, because we're going to disrupt just about every industry you can think of with our company, because it's a life extension company, and we can't talk too much about it because we're filing patents still. We're kind of filing like around 100 or something. And dude, I mean, it's just going to be super sexy. We need help. Contact us, and let's start building together.
All right, we have an audience question. That would be right
In what
here.
year do you think longevity escape velocity is achieved? Renato Galindo
Yeah.
Caceres. I hope I didn't butcher his name. I'll just give my take on it real briefly. So, first of all, nobody knows. Nobody. Anybody who says they know is lying. But it could have already been achieved, right? It's unlikely, but with therapies that are out there already, like, Liz Parrish, who I've interviewed, her multiple gene therapy she's done on herself, her telomerase gene therapy, her myostatin inhibitor gene therapy, If you look at David Sinclair, he's 51 years old biologically. He says that his Steve Horvath DNA methylation clock shows that he's 30 years of age. It's possible that this has already occurred. We won't know until more and more time ticks along. My personal belief is that it has not yet occurred, and that's why I'm working my ass off every day to make it happen faster. And I'm the co-founder of a company that's called LEV Sciences, Longevity Escape Velocity Sciences. And I would encourage the audience to go there, create a profile. It's a social media site, so you can create your own profile. We're going to be adding a lot more features. But right now, you can create a profile. It's completely free. We're trying to get all sorts of scientists to add in their work. We've already been in discussions with Aubrey de Grey, Bill Andrews, Liz Parrish are on board. Many other scientists that I've interviewed on my YouTube channel will be on board. But it will be, we're hoping that it's going to be an incredible website and resource for folks to bring about longevity escape velocity as soon as possible.
Wonderful. I mean, I think you bring up a good point, Brent. A lot of times, you say, like, we shouldn't be overconfident with when we think that, a lot of like transhumanist people are kind of resting on their laurels, expecting, the cure is going to come around any day now. It's like, we need to be like afraid that it's not going to come, afraid that we haven't reached the longevity of science. And there's an importance of fear of failure that we need to make it happen. We can't just rest and expect that it's just we have to create the future, right? We have to manifest it ourselves.
Yeah, in general, I'll just, since you mentioned me, and then we'll let Max and Bobby go. Yeah, I mean, I fell into that trap for many years, and I've actually kind of seen it get worse over time, whereas the more and more I've personally researched longevity, I'm less convinced it's going to happen, because it's like one of those things, the further you go down the rabbit hole, the more you realize how complex this problem really is. And so when I was like 20 and I was really getting into this stuff deeply, I just kind of believed people like Ray Kurzweil, this is just going to happen. And for the record, I highly respect Ray Kurzweil. I've interviewed him. He's a great guy. He's done a lot for the movement. I hope he's right. I don't know that he's right. And there's a lot of really smart people that disagree with him. So personally, I'm working my ass off every day to make it happen faster. And I just want to encourage those who think that it's going to happen and just kind of believe it like a religion. It's kind of funny how most of these people are not religious in the transhumanist movement, and this has kind of like become the new religion, that this is just going to happen. And I mean, I'm not religious in that in any sense. I'm trying to actually understand it for myself and work to make it happen.
Right. Yeah, and one of the things that I'd like to point out too is I understand that some religious people find it hey, sacrilegious to cure aging or live forever, and those kind of things. Even if you're against and not wanting to live forever, and you want to eventually die, I'm sure you do feel health conscious in some way. I'm sure you want to have a healthy body. I'm sure you want to do every kind of preventative way towards having heart disease or cancer and those kind of things. So I encourage you to not look at it as solely just curing aging, but also just having a healthy lifestyle. I'm sure you don't go out and go to Burger King every day and have burgers every day or have those kind of things. Why? Because it's proven that that's bad for your health, and you get fat and you can die of heart disease. So having this aspect of age related and curing aging, it doesn't just I can't say it enough, it doesn't just help with aging, it helps with everything. Heart disease, with all, and helping a healthy body and preventing having diseases. So
that's actually such an excellent point that I'll expand on, because a lot of people, they get confused, right? They hear life extension treatment or anti-aging treatment or age reversal treatment, and they don't understand what that means, and so they think it's only for aging or it's only for life extension. And people don't want to live longer but be unhealthier, right, longer, which is really frustrating. The thing is that these treatments will be. Hold on, there's a freaking blender going on behind. Okay, it's off. So the thing is that these treatments are capable of also treating specific diseases at the same time. So when you do get heart disease, when you do get cancer, or if you're on the verge, or you're getting older, you want to prevent that, you could take these anti-aging treatments that are coming out, or the lactose treatments are already out, promising ones, I would say. And so that's an extremely important point. So, why be bedridden for a year or 8 years of the end of your life? Okay, suffering. Okay, that's what happens, in case you didn't know. Why do that? Why not be healthy playing tennis for those year to 8 years and then die? Okay, that's what we're dealing with here, everyone.
And the sad reality is the current way of how things are going is people don't really get heavily involved in anti-aging until they don't start thinking of death until that they're in their deathbed, or they're getting really old, or those kind of things. And that's what we're really trying to change. Is we're really wanting everybody. It should be a priority for everybody to start now and focus now to start worrying about curing aging, because the earlier you start, the better. The earlier it gets you more, the healthier your body becomes. You don't want to wait until later on down the road. It's best to start now, and if we can get that awareness to focus on now at all ages, everybody should focus on it, and we can really make a huge impact.
Right. All right, we got another question from Raw Matt, the great Raw Matt. When do you think gene alteration will be available to the masses?
So it already is, technically. There has been a number of FDA-approved gene therapies that have occurred in the last couple of years. Chimera, and I've looked them up in a while. Starts in the L, I think. There's a bunch of them, okay, for cancers and stuff. Really impressive ones, too. And then a quote I love to say is that an FDA commissioner recently stated that they said, based on the number of, papers that are submitted, dude, I keep forgetting the word, I need to look it up, but based on the number of, experiments going on, they predict there to be 10 to 20 cell and gene therapies FDA approved starting in 2025 every year, okay, which is incredible, okay? That means massive amount of cures coming out, and a lot of some of those will be for aging and life extension, so that'll be incredible. And so a lot of people think gene therapies and stuff, genetic editing, is far away. It's not. It's already here, and it's about to become a freaking tidal wave, right? It's going to be beautiful. So just don't self-experiment. Okay, you hear people like Josiah Zahner and other people going around being like, self-experiment, blah blah blah. Don't do that. That's scary shit, and you have to be very careful with that. You have to really know what you're doing. And just stay away from that, right? There's other ways of extending your lifespan right now that are much safer, and just DM me, for example, Max and my company, we will be providing products to, I can't talk too much about it, but yeah, we're coming, okay?
Anyone else want to take that question? I really don't know. I mean, I hope really soon. I hope that Liz Parrish succeeds as fast as possible. I just hope the FDA gets out of the freaking way. So I'm like a libertarian. I want the government to freaking get out of the way of science and progress and technology. So anyone else want to take this question?
Yeah, I'll share a couple thoughts. So first of all, Rowan, I've interviewed Michael Fossil as well, and I was at the Longevity Therapeutics Conference in San Francisco last month at the end of January, and I had the opportunity to sit with Michael, and also Michael's the president of Telesite, and Peter is the CEO. And so I had an opportunity to really talk with them for the first time on a personal level, in person. We'd had conversations on the internet, and I've obviously interviewed Michael. But Michael, from what Michael Fossil tells me, for his telomerase gene therapy, the FDA has essentially given their blessing. The FDA is not the bottleneck here. Michael knows many people at the FDA. He's friendly with them. They're rooting for Telesite. It's funding. They need $10 million. Oh, wow. Funding is the issue. Funding is the issue with all of this, right? So it comes down to money. It comes down to education. It comes down to the general population understanding this, demanding this. So first of all, when you ask the question, when do you think gene alteration will be available to the masses? First, you have to define, what do you mean by the masses, right? You can't assume that everybody understands what that means. There's about 7.7 billion people on the planet. There's about 206 nation states. They all have different laws, rules, regulations. Some are extremely socialist. Some are extremely more on the capitalist side. I would argue like there's no real capitalist country. They all have some facets of socialism. So it's a very complex question, and same as what I gave for Lev Sciences, nobody knows for sure. There's a lot of moving parts going on, but what I do know is the more you look into this, the more you try and understand this, get involved, find out what your skills are. If you really think you can contribute in a big way, but you don't have that skill, then maybe try and gain that skill to make a big impact. It's a complex question. So in general, I would just say get involved.
I would say, I would assume that the viewer knows about CRISPR and the exciting things of what CRISPR is doing. But there was an article that just came out a couple weeks ago about the gene editing CRISPR doing for muscular dystrophy, neurodegeneration disease, and they just tested it on pigs. And I would encourage that you read that, and it is quite amazing how
human trial for that too.
Yeah, so this isn't mice. This is actually pigs, and pigs are very much more similar to the human body than mice are. But very promising research, and when it would be available, like I said, I believe that it would be available to the wealthy pretty soon, very, very soon. But the key question is, I think what it comes down to is we need to drive that cost down to make it available for the general public, for everybody like you and me. That would be my general answer to that is how can we go about and making it affordable for everybody to take, something that I'm really interested in is how we can utilize the genes of supercentenarians, and how can people live to 122 years old, like Jeanne, the girl from France. What was her name? Jeanne Content. Anyway, her diet. She released her
Clement,
diet.
I think, right?
Jeanne Clement.
Yeah, and she has Coca-Cola, chocolate. She does all these just terrible diet.
That could have to do with stress too, because how Aubrey talked with Joe Rogan about what all centenarians have in common, and I think we said stress, right? They reduce stress, or you said they
handle stress very well. So when affected with something, they get over it very quickly.
Very quickly.
Right.
Yeah, very well. Definitely.
Well, and quickly. Rowan, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's basically it. We should answer the next question. Gyri.
Let's actually, Rowan. Just because that one's so important, let's make sure everybody understands this. So when Aubrey de Grey was just interviewed by Joe Rogan, Aubrey de Grey gave a really good answer that I want everybody to understand, because it's really hard to find this in the data. Aubrey de Grey said that the number one thing that he believes, is misunderstood. I don't remember exactly how Joe Rogan posed the question, but I think this is misunderstood, and it's super important to live a long, healthy life. Mm-hmm. The number one data point is that centenarians and super centenarians tend to get over any type of trauma in their life very quickly. And they don't let shit get them down. It's that simple, right? You can just keep harping on things and experience. And this has to do with emotional intelligence, right?
Right.
And it's a really important skill set. And I don't know if we really want to get into that right now over this live stream, but it's incredibly crucial. And it's something that everybody should learn about if they don't know.
I personally don't like Aubrey's approach to explaining aging, honestly, too much. I think he focuses a little bit too much on the societal oppression of aging, and it's important, but I think he focuses on that too much versus the science, because there's a lot of great science going on right now, and I think he's really passionate about his definition of just damage in general, but it's really hard because he'll go around discussing how other people have published work soon after he published his work on the definition of aging and damage, and then people came up with their own definitions of aging specifically, and so he kind of brings that up sometimes. He's like, this is kind of messed up, but I really don't care. I care more about heralding research. When it's like, dude, if you look at your paper that he wrote on the 7 different areas of damage, it wasn't really a paper. It was more of a something you post on some secondary some New York Times or something, right? Like it wasn't. It was only he wrote it, and I feel like he could write a great paper on this, on damage. I've heard him talk about it a little bit details every now and then. That'd be really great if him and a team of scientists went through all the diseases, dude. Like get a team of freaking scientists, right? Like a lot of them, go through all the diseases and see like where are connections and where can you generalize all of these, and really have an all encapsulating, definition for damage and aging. And he didn't do that, and so it's too bad. But or I just didn't read the paper.
Bobby, actually, in my interview with Aubrey de Grey in July of 2019, I specifically asked Aubrey if he has another book in the works coming out soon, because his book, Ending Aging, came out in 2007. And his general response to that is what he has been saying for many years, which is that he generally believes that his book, Ending Aging, has withstood the test of time. So he doesn't see a big reason to write another book at this time, because everything in there he believes is still very accurate. And he also hold on, Bobby, hold on. The second part of that is that he believes that doing interviews right now on the internet is a very good use of his time, because that's how a lot of people like to learn, which is exactly why we're here doing this right now. So that was the second part.
Yeah.
Hey,
and
guys.
he has a consensus too. And that's really impressive, that how much of a consensus he has from other scientists getting on board with his areas of damage and putting a lot of their effort into overcoming these areas of damage. So that's really impressive, and goes to show that he is legit. And the dude is at the forefront, right? He's talking to all of the wealthy investors. He's doing some pretty impressive science, and giving him money will significantly help with this cause.
So since we basically told people that they'll die if they don't manage their stress levels, maybe we should give them some practical advice on how to actually manage their stress levels. Do you guys have any strategies? I would say there's actually some good research that adaptogenic herbs, and I have experience with this myself, taking some adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha, rhodiola. These things really help the body manage stress. They kind of adapt the body to handle stress, which kind of makes sense. I don't know how this kind of works, but the herbs grow in stressful environments. And it sounds like weird. Like, why would that translate into actually our bodies? But somehow these herbs, they grow in really stressful environments. They create these like plant chemicals that, when ingested, they somehow make it so our bodies can handle stress better. So that would be my advice.
The general concept with anything, you look at like blueberries and blackberries, how they have those, dark blue colors. It's the polyphenols in there. So in general, in the plant world, these plants have built up these things like the polyphenols that actually protect the plant. And those are the things that are actually really good in your body. They have, they're like antioxidants, which then fight the free radicals, which then, keep you healthy by keeping the free radicals down in general. But I want to say something real quick, and then Max, Bobby, Rowan, you guys can expand upon this. First of all, we always have to define our terms, right? And we always have to make sure that this is personalized medicine is the most important thing here. So when you talk about stress, there's generally accepted 3 types of stress. There's mental, physical, and emotional stress. And then there are good stress as well, too. This word stress is kind of like one of those words I've talked about, like God, love, religion. It means something different to so many different people. So we have to be really careful that we define our terms here. There's good stress out there.
Right.
You don't want to just be trying to avoid stress your entire life. You'll just be laying on the couch all day, and we know that's not good for you. So if the question is how do you manage stress, then the answer should be like, what kind of stress? It's more of a dialogue question, and it's more of a personal question. And then when it comes to taking specific types of things, it comes down to like, well, how much money do you have? How old are you? I wouldn't advise somebody who's broke to be spending all their money on these herbs if they're 22 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Work your ass off, make some money. Financial security is important aspect.
Yeah.
I
personally like to focus on. I think it's good to cover like basics. Like Brent brought up, like sleep and stress and stuff. Those are really important, and it's still kind of a new idea and it's important to get that foundation down, right? Taking your vitamins, etc., eating healthy, but but also extending lifespan is a new idea and needs to be promoted really often. And doing the basics will not extend maximum lifespan. And so I personally like to really focus my conversations on extending maximum lifespan. And I have a huge bias.
I think the most important thing is there isn't really one way to tackle aging or one way to tackle not having any stress in life, right? Because it's a multitude of things, right? It's exercise, what we know of, eating healthy, how you handle stress, how you handle things like what we're talking about here with the coronavirus. Being able to just separate that and not be scared that I'm going to die tomorrow from the coronavirus, or I might get to I don't want to go to China because I might get the coronavirus. Just separate those fears and understand that for instance, the coronavirus, it's very majority of the cases are mild. It's not something that you have to extremely worry about. And if you have that aspect of being able to handle those a lot better, and with the multitude of everything else, I think that's that's what you have to do, is just do a multitude of things. It's not just one thing, and have those extra supplements that we were talking about earlier. That helps too. Same thing within the aging. When we're talking about with aging, we're not just looking at one way to cure aging. We're looking at so many different ways. We don't want to put all our eggs in one basket with aging. There's so many different exciting research in the world of aging that we all want to continue to develop and continue to improve. So that's one thing that Bobby and I are doing within our business is we want to make it easier for everybody to just have a one-stop shop for everything in terms of helping with getting all your aging needs all in one place. So to make it we can do the research for you and do all the help. So so.
Awesome. Should we take the other questions? We have a few more questions. Let's start off with a question from Gyri Suisi. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. What do you guys think is the most promising development in anti-aging currently? Anyone care to take a shot at that?
Yeah. Who wants to go first?
Question?
If I had to single out one thing personally, I believe it's gene therapy. If I had to single out that even more, I would say it's telomerase gene therapy. But I want to say a caveat, and then I'll let Bobby and Max go. I don't know. None of us know. The problem is not enough of this stuff has been done in humans. It's been done in mice and all other sorts of organisms, and it's shown to be really effective. And then you have somebody like Liz Parrish who did the first ever telomerase gene therapy in 2015. A couple other people had done a myostatin inhibitor, also called follistatin gene therapy, before she did it. She was maybe the second or third or fourth person to do that in 2015. She did a dual gene therapy of those two. Now there's been more. So the floodgates are kind of open there, and we'll see over time. Unfortunately, here in this case, humans do live a very long time compared to these other organisms. So it's hard to play out. So then we're now looking at all these biological aging clocks, DNA methylation, telomere length, C-reactive proteins, all these there's like over 300 ways to measure someone's biological age. I think it's generally agreed upon, even though Michael Fossil didn't agree with me, but it's generally agreed upon in the longevity thought leader world that the Steve Horvath DNA methylation clock is the most accurate predictor of your biological age and when you will die. But still, the general answer is that we don't know. So in a sense, it is good that we have a lot of different scientists working on a lot of different things, a lot of eggs in one basket. But I will be very quick to pivot to other things. I have second and third and fourth answers that I will not get to right now. I'll pivot if it's shown that gene therapy, and specifically telomerase gene therapy, isn't as promising as I believe it is right now if the time plays out. So don't get married to one specific thing right now.
All right.
So was the question for aging or life extension?
What do you guys think is the most promising development in anti-aging currently? That's the question.
And we assume they mean for humans, right? That's how I answer the question. I'm not excited about extending nematodes or other organisms' life. I want to extend human life. So that's how I answered the question.
Yeah. So for aging, what's the most promising for defeating?
Was
It's
it
a
promising or
comorbid.
exciting? I guess those are the same things, right?
Promising.
Yeah, so exciting. I
They're all
mean, so aging is a comorbidity, and comorbidity sort of disease, I guess you can call it, comorbidity, pathology, whatever. And so it's going to require a multifaceted treatment, which I mean, the only person I know who's doing that is Dr. George Church. Well, Aubrey Gray also, right? Aubrey Gray is totally supports tackle all diseases at the same time, but he just doesn't have the funding right now, so he focuses on one area of damage, which is broad, and he supports research outside of his company. There's a word for that, I forget. And so, but defeating aging will not extend lifespan, like defeat death, right? It'll defeat lots of types of death, but not death in general. And then life extension treatments are very promising, right? They will not only help us extend our lifespan, but increase health span, and will be an excellent tool for figuring out how to defeat death in general. And so those are extremely exciting. I'm one of the only people who is at the frontier of this research, and I'm not even a scientist yet. I've just read like a bunch of literature on it, and I see major pitfalls everywhere. It's really odd. And then, but for life extension, specifically for like defeating death and extending lifespan for thousands of years, there's two things going on right now. Cryonics, right? Of course, cryonics can likely do that, extend our lifespan for thousands of years, and then brain-computer interface, right? It might be impossible for our bodies, our biological bodies, to extend our lifespan for thousands of years because we recycle our atoms every 5 to 10 years, so we may have died multiple times already. We may have to transfer our consciousness or whatever, through brain-computer interface technologies. So I think that's, and then you got Neuralink, you got companies like Kernel, founders Brian Johnson, government. There's some, you can hear some things that they are developing brain-computer interface, which is really scary, because I've heard some advancements that they've made, and from like a satellite, for example, they can input like voices and stuff. I mean, that's just hearsay from people that you can probably trust. I don't know. And then who else is doing brain-computer interface? I don't know. But brain-computer interface is advancing very fast, and I plan on being involved in that research directly very soon.
Yeah, so for me personally, I really, so I have a religious background. One of the things that I've always known is I'm a strong believer that our human body is the most powerful way to cure diseases and aging and those kind of things. And what I mean by that is, here's an example with a product that I take. So we know that free radicals are bad, right? Free radicals, and so what antioxidants do? Antioxidants attaches itself to a free radical and gets rid of it. So we know that's been proven with how bad free radicals are, and antioxidants is a solution to that, right? But I see in our body there's enzymes within our body that can kill free radicals at a rate of 1 million free radicals per second. Our own enzymes in our body, all we need to do is activate those enzymes. So I take a product that activates.
That's a really good point, dude. I thought you were going to like totally botch that, but that was a really good point.
Right, yeah.
I knew where he was going.
It's actually called a NRF2 activator, and you can go and you can look this up. I know you guys don't probably, but it's called a NRF2 activator, and it activates an enzyme. The enzyme is called superoxide dismutase. And that enzyme in our own body kills free radicals at a rate of 1 million per second. So if you put that in comparison, having to eat 1 million antioxidants every second of every day is the equivalence of what I take in just one pill, right? So that's just one example of many examples as to why I feel that our own body, with genes and enzymes and gene therapy and those kind of things, those are the most promising for me, because I feel like our human body can cure aging better than any other foreign substance or any of the things that you can put into your body.
Yeah, our bodies are extremely. Or go ahead and finish.
Yeah, and so the caveat on that too, through religion, and why I have a religious background, why I believe our human bodies can. And this is why one of the main reasons why I'm extremely confident that we can live up to 900 plus years old is if you are religious too, you look in the Bible, there's multiple examples. Adam and Eve, Noah, they all lived to 900 plus years old. So, I mean, even if you're just a scientific, religious person, you should know that it's not impossible to live up to 900 plus years old because people in the Bible in the biblical times lived up to that age. Yeah. So, we know that it's possible. We know our human body can do it. It's just a matter of, getting those correct, putting the correct things in your body to activate those enzymes that we already have in our body to work for us.
Exactly. So our bodies have excellent repair mechanisms, right? And I mean, look how youthful we are, right now. And just augmenting those mechanisms, right? And obviously inputting genes is very important. But honestly, dude, like what Max is saying, we may find out that just turning on and off certain genes through epigenetics or through edits, just turning them on and off, and turning on and off pathways and stuff, we may find out that alone could defeat death because our bodies will be strong enough, our defense mechanisms and stuff will be strong enough to fight off whatever. And
Bobby, can I share a few things on that? Can I kind of expand upon that and kind of go back to why I'm so bullish, to use a stock market term, on telomerase gene therapy? So essentially what the question is what is the main cause of aging? Like, we all agree that aging is a multifactorial thing, and we all agree that there's probably not just one cause. But if you're going to ask the question, you should go a step further. And what Michael Foster like to say is, what is the single best point of intervention is really what the question is if we want to actually intervene appropriately. And so the reason why I think telomerase gene therapy could be that is because bad things happen when telomeres get short. If you look at, I got a bunch of books right here. I have like 8 books, so maybe I'll do a give out. I have 8 copies of both of Bill Andrews' books, and I've read tons of books on telomeres, like all the good ones. And bad things happen when telomeres get short. You type in telomeres in any disease into PubMed. Telomeres cancer, telomeres heart disease, telomeres so on and so forth, right? Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. What was very clear in humans is that bad things happen when telomeres get short.
And as you age, those telomeres get bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's been proven too. Absolutely.
Well, the telomeres get shorter and shorter and shorter as you age. It's okay. Shorter. I'm sure everybody knew what you meant.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. So to understand here, like, why I answered that question, it's because we think that maybe, just maybe, if we can lengthen those telomeres, it can reset the whole way that the gene is expressed, gene expression, also known as the epigenome, which people like David Sinclair are really, really excited about this epigenome science, right? Bobby's giving the thumbs down, but whatever you think about David Sinclair's book, his information theory of aging is really about the epigenome. And there is really promising research about the epigenome, basically saying that when you're young, and I want to kind of correct something Bobby said earlier. I think everybody knew what he meant, but I want to make sure the audience is super clear. Bobby's giving me that face. The body is really good at repairing damage when it's young. Bobby didn't give that caveat when it's young, because all of us in here are all young. The body gets worse and worse at repairing damage as it gets older. And so the question is, why does that happen? The answer is it's probably super, super, super complex. It's a cat and mouse game, chicken and egg.
We have a pretty good understanding of it. Like, we're starting to get a better understanding, increased senescence, decrease in stem cells, and, and so decreases and increases of various things, changes in our genome, and then environmental, shit.
Too with Brent is.
But why?
Is telomeres? Yeah. So as he was saying, telomeres has been proven to get shorter and shorter as we age. Same thing as I was telling you earlier with the enzyme superoxide dismutase. That's been clinically proven. As you age, those enzymes in your body stop working, and they just stop. And
right. There's lots of things that go down, but the question is, what is the main thing that's driving all this? What is the root cause of this? Therefore, where is the biggest intervention here? Nobody is arguing. No
Why
sense
are
of,
the senescent
No-
cells increasing? Yeah.
no serious life extensionist is arguing that like free radicals are good or that antioxidants are bad or that we shouldn't be activating the NRF2 or NRF2, right? Super Zymos dismutate, or I botched that, but
Oxide dismutase.
superoxide dismutase. Thank you. That's good. The question is we only have so much money, most of us, right? And forget money for the individual. We want to figure out what is going to have the biggest bang for our buck. And right now, I think the smartest people on the planet, and I've been researching these people for like 15 years, I think it's telomerase gene therapy, because I think if you reset the telomere length, then that could be the biggest bang for our buck to then have an epigenetic effect on all the genome to then, for example, turn on NRF2. So you don't have to be taking that pill that you're taking and do all this other, basically have the genes be expressed like they were when you were younger. And so, and the reason we believe this is because bad things happen when telomeres get short, and pretty much nothing bad happens with long telomeres, with incredibly small exceptions. I'm not going to get into it now. If you want to watch my interview with Dr. Michael Fossel, the first one I did with him in November of 2019, he goes into it in very depth, and he has really good visuals explaining how there could be a small period right after we lengthen telomeres with telomerase gene therapy where there could be a quick increased risk of cancer that then drops off. So I'll rant over at that point.
All right. I think my most promising anti-aging therapy at the moment, which I'm most excited about, would probably be gene therapy. So I have to second Brent there with what Liz Parrish is doing. That is super exciting. And here's a quote on the screen right here. Liz Parrish said, "If humans didn't need help, I wouldn't be into genetic engineering," right? So it's like, we need help. We need science. Our bodies aren't good enough. We need to fix something. So we're kind of broken bodies. And my second one would be NAD therapy. Of course, we've all heard that now in the anti-aging community, but not just the pills. I don't think the pills are powerful enough. I don't think the precursors aren't powerful enough. I think we need, well, actually recently I found out.
Hey, is my video back?
Yeah, your video's on.
For some reason, I can't see it on my screen, but
Right.
okay, good show.
So I'm into I can't wait to see what goes on with more powerful ways to boost NAD, but I want to try, I can't wait to try like actually NAD IVs. I think that's just going to be amazing when I get to try that. I've tried the patches, I've tried rectal NAD, trying to maximize the absorption, but I want to do the NAD IVs, and then I'm really right now I'm excited
Dude,
about.
where did you get the idea, Rowan, to do that?
Well, it's just in the health community, everyone knows when you take something rectally, it increases absorption by a lot. They say.
Dude, you could have injured yourself, man.
No, it's totally safe. And then there's methylene blue, which I'm excited about right now. That's kind of popular in the biohacking community. Dave Asprey is doing it. It's supposed to have anti-aging effects on the brain. I'm all into like brain health, kind of obsessed with brain health, and this is supposed to be amazing. And
Honestly, dude, EGCG. So I've been taking kind of low dose EGCG. I take, there's Boston supplements, the EGCG, it's green tea extract. AI recently found it to be a mimetic from In Silico Medicine that Brett Nally interviewed the CEO of. Check out the interview. The AI found EGCG to be a mimetic to rapamycin. So I looked up life extension studies, and they've been tested in mice, and there's robust life extension results.
Oh.
Well, so I started taking EGCG because AI told me to, and not only do I feel really healthy, I haven't been testing biomarkers, I should be, but not only do I feel really healthy, but so life extension treatments, they're interesting. We need to find a name for them because they don't just augment our health, they augment our IQ, our memory storage, depression, whatever. They help with all that stuff. And so, dude, every time I take EGCG, I can work hard all day. My intelligence is increased by quite a bit, and yeah, man, it's really impressive. and I need to do more research on it to double check for side effects, because I've read some things about potential liver damage and stuff if you're taking too much of it, and that's why I low dose these things. But dude, I mean, so far I have been feeling good from EGCG.
Wow. So I definitely want to try that. EGCG is in green tea, right? I think it is. That's one of the things, right? But
yeah,
green tea is a problematic because it's very high in fluoride. So an extract would be better because then you're not getting the fluoride. So I would definitely want to try that. But as far as what I'm most excited about, honestly, it's this on the screen right now. Dr. Nichola Canlin, who we're going to be interviewing, she and her team has come up with basically a dietary supplement that boosts NAD 4 times more than any other product using a multi-targeted approach. So this is something I definitely want to try. I guess normal NAD precursors are very limited in how they're just not powerful enough. So she's come up with a certain combination of things that literally, according to the stats she did research, and literally boosts 4 times more than any other product. So that's something I want to try, and we're going to be interviewing her mid-March. So that's exciting.
Let's chat about that real quick. So we've already interviewed a number of people, the 4 of us here, me, Rowan, Bobby, Max, and Alex as well. And we just haven't released it yet. So we'll have a new YouTube channel coming out with all of this. Due to the algorithms and due to certain decisions we're making, you want to release consistent content. So we're trying to get some good interviews for you guys and then release them consistently. So definitely stay on the lookout for that when we release that YouTube channel.
So I'm sure you.
And if you guys, before we even interview, if you guys want to see, she did a really cool lecture at Ascend's conference. It's called her lecture at Undoing Aging. I would just watch that because there she explains her research and her product that is like amazing. So I can't wait to learn more about it. Anyways, that's about it.
How healthy.
Should we answer the next question, which is by Thought Criminal? Are any of you signed up for cryonics? What do you think of cryonics, and what do you think of possible cryonics alternatives like plastination? I'll let you guys start off with that. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think I'm the only one here that's actually a member of cryonics. I'm a member at Alcor. So currently there's 2
soon, like in a week, dude. I'll be a member.
There's 2
do you have your wristband?
I actually should be getting all that in the mail here soon. So I actually just recently signed up.
It's not official if you don't have the wristband, right? Like they won't come and freeze you, right? If you die.
I did not know about that. I know that they're gonna give me the whole.
I'm just messing with you guys.
Yeah, I don't think that about it. But,
sorry, sir, but you don't have your wristband.
We're gonna have to not freeze you, Mr. Dead Person. There's no wristband here.
Oh, it looks like you're fine. But yeah, so basically, there's 2 that I was contemplating on: CI, which is in Michigan, Cryonics Institute, and there's Alcor. And Alcor is the one it's a little more expensive. Alcor, I did just the brain, the head. So that's another discussion up. Should we do whole body or just the brain? But I did brain because, like I told you guys, the CEO Max Moore, he just is doing his brain, and he talked me into doing just the brain aspect of it. So anyway, yeah, I'm a member, and I'm a strong believer in it. What were the other alternatives that was part of that question, Rowan?
Plastination. I'm not saying that right.
I don't even know. I don't even know what that is.
So I can say that we're in discussions with some folks who are starting or have started a biostatus, cryonics company in Europe, and we'll be sharing more information with that when they allow us to share more information. But I just want to kind of warn people, it's been well known since about like 20 years, there's 40,000 neural cells in the heart. And I think I talked about this either on a live stream or with you guys last weekend. So at the HeartMath Institute in Boulder Creek, Colorado, it's right by Santa Cruz, just south of the San Francisco Bay Area, Silicon Valley there. they've been doing this research for decades, and they show that it's actually the heart in many cases is remembering certain things. I mean, literally remembering things like an actual image, because there's neurons, 40,000 of them, cells in the heart, and it's sending those signals to the brain. And I think I also referenced there's been
that would be so beautiful.
Yeah, there's been many cases as well as like organ transplants, and then those people who receive the organ transplant actually having certain visual memories and other types of stimulation to do certain things that only those individuals would have known had the transplant. Like, for example, a 19-year-old kid loved to ride motorcycles, eat chicken nuggets and French fries and drink beer, and he died. His organ was then, I believe it was his liver, was then given to an elderly person who did not like beer, motorcycles, fried chicken, or French fries. And then all of a sudden, that older person who got the organ transplant all of a sudden started craving all those things and couldn't figure out why. They finally figured out who they got the organ transplant through after a crazy story. Talked to their parents, said, yeah, he loved riding motorcycles, eating chicken nuggets, drinking beer, and eating French fries. So
I think the only thing that's significant about that particularly, though, is the motorcycle part, because it's been proven that food is stimulated by what you have. So someone that's never had alcohol isn't going to have more cravings towards alcohol, or someone that doesn't eat a lot of carbs isn't going to crave a lot of carbs.
Max, the general point is that you are not just your memories in your brain. You're not just this and above, right? And if you think that you are, like, I don't mean to be rude, but you know almost nothing about the human body then. And I'm not saying this to you, Max, or Max Moore, very smart people, but like, there's the vagus nerve. It connects to your gut and your microbiome. And, you know, I already talked about the 40,000 neurons in your heart. Like, we are such complex organisms. So I'd say if my general advice is that if you really are all for biostatus or chronics or preserving you, if the goal is to preserve you, then go for the whole body, or at least the body. You might not need your limbs. I think that that's incredibly important, you know, based off.
I think one thing that we should talk about.
Let Max reply.
Yeah. So one thing that we should certainly do is we're eventually going to be meeting with Max Moore at Alcor, and I think it would be a fascinating thing to ask him, and is to reason why. And Brandon, I think it would be really good to bring that up specifically, so we can show the audience why the CEO of Alcor, someone that, you know, knows more about cryonics than any of us, is in reasoning as to why he is doing just his head, and see maybe if he can give a really good response to that question that you have, Brent, because I'm sure he probably knows that.
If I can postulate on a few things, man, because I've been researching this stuff independently for many, many years, but it's kind of until you get out and start networking, communicating with really smart people that you start to really learn stuff. And so my main takeaway from interviewing all these really smart people over the last, year on my YouTube channel, these longevity experts, is that nobody knows everything. That's why we haven't figured out aging. Every single individual has gaps of their knowledge. And while Max Moore is clearly a very intelligent, successful person, maybe he just doesn't know about this stuff. I mean, this is pretty esoteric knowledge that I just shared. And the final thing that I'll say is, I'm scheduled to interview Max on March 9th, and I need to let him know. I actually can't do that. I had to switch plans. So hopefully you guys can ask him that question. Because I can't.
We're talking with Max late March, dude. We're going to vlog the tour. Max Moore, Sierra Sciences, People Unlimited, Mormon Transhuman Association. That's just our first vlog tour. And it's going to be sexy.
You're gonna have to give us that particular question and actually give us, more in detailed specific of that research of those questions, and we can certainly ask that to Max Moore on March 9th and give that to the viewers. So.
I'll share links with you guys. One more just quick plug that ties into this. I'm scheduled to interview Greg Braden on March 5th. He's a very, very well-known and famous researcher for multi-decades, and he's discussed this at length in his books and in many YouTube interviews and videos over many years regarding the 40,000 neurons, cells in the heart. And the final thing that I'll say on this is I really believe that there's been lost knowledge throughout our humanity, our history. The fact that we say, go with your heart, trust your gut, And now we're scientifically finding out that these things are incredibly important to our health, and that the heart is actually in some cases making decisions and then signaling that to the brain, and then the vagus nerve connecting the heart, and the gut to the brain. It's just incredibly fascinating. So I don't think those are coincidences, personally.
The key thing though that Max Moore is going to say is the key thing is what you got to really nail down with him is he believes, and this is what he was telling me when I was sitting down with him, everything that is us is our memories. So you have to have. It's
not the onus is not on him. The onus is not. This is a logical fallacy, right? The onus is not on him to prove that that's true. Right. The onus is for him to prove that it's not true, right? And from the reasons that I just said, I think it should make anybody skeptical, right? I mean,
and we don't know where memory is, right? Like what Brent was saying. There's evidence that memory is in other places, like our microbiome and our heart, and our enteric nervous system has so many neurons in there. Okay, dude. How there's the central nervous system, peripheral nervous system. Well, there's an enteric nervous system also. It's our gut. And dude, I mean, that thing has a freaking brain in there, right? So who knows what's going on in there with your memories? So Max's conjecture about our memories being who we are, which may or may not be true, likely not true, he shouldn't be only preserving his head. He should be preserving as much of his body as possible and as much data about his body as possible. Get your microbiome tested and stored, get your Snapdome stored, all that data, your Facebook and everything.
Hey guys, real quick, it's the same question. It's the same question here of like, how are we going to cure aging, or when will we cure aging? It's like, well, you have to understand the whole picture and take a step back and try and deconstruct what is the question here. So with cryonics, it seems to be the goal is to preserve the self, the identity, who I am. I don't want to die. I want to come back. Right? So then if that is
everything else you can learn all your knowledge back, you can learn everything else back, you can get your body back, but memories you can't get back. Once those are gone, who you are as a person is gone, basically, essentially.
Dude,
hold on. I think I know what Max meant by gone. There's been many. I think what you mean is like once that person's dead and the body's just been dissolved, but there are many, many cases where we've shown that things like Alzheimer's and loss of memory, those memories in the brain that's still like in a living person, they're not actually gone. It's just the access to them is lost. So the memories are still in there. But I don't think that's what you were referring to in this.
No, I wasn't referring to that at all.
Awesome. I just thought that was an interesting tidbit.
Hey, I gotta, I'll be back in like 30 minutes. Just have to go pee and like. Okay. I have to relocate to a less loud place. So I'll be back in like 30 minutes, like 20, 30 minutes.
Alrighty.
Yeah, Brent, that would be something very fascinating to talk to Max Moore about, as to why he is solely just doing his brain as opposed to his entire body, his full body. So
listen, Max, here's what I'm going to say as well too, and I have great respect for Max Moore, what he's doing, what he's trying to do. When you have somebody who's the CEO of a company, it could come down to the simplest decision that he's making a business decision that this is what he wants to convey. Like, for example, how much does it cost to preserve the brain, to cryopreserve the
$80,000 for the brain, $200,000 for the body.
So there you go. He could be making a simple decision that he would never admit to any of us, that he's doing this to send a marketing signal to his customers that, hey, you don't need to spend $200,000, just spend $80,000, right? It could really be that signal.
He want to promote the more expensive option, $200,000, as to opposed
potentially no. If he's doing his market research and he feels that the $200,000 would cut off, would be detrimental to the total number of sales. And I don't want to question Max Moore's ethics, right? So I hope I didn't do that with that. But I'm just saying, like, he is the CEO of the company, so we do have to be skeptical. But I'll just kind of leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the point is with the viewers, is with aging, is you got to have an open mind among anything, right? So you can't be closed-minded because there's new research that comes out all the time, And certainly, Max Moore could change his mind. Brent could change I can change my mind. There's always new research, new things. So we just got to always have an open mind, and I encourage all viewers to always have an open mind on everything. So keep on learning. You don't want to be ignorant. You want to keep on learning more about this.
Right.
Definitely.
Keep your mind wide open to all the possibilities.
Rowan, final thing.
Mm-hmm.
As Dr. Michael Fossil says, keep your mind open, but not so open that your brains fall out.
Right. I have a favorite movie called Bridge to Terabithia, and the main character in that movie, there's a quote. She says, "Keep your mind open, wide open." Something like that. Yeah, I love it. It's been a big foundation of my philosophy to have an open-minded. Of course, that's. So I'll just. I'll talk about this cryonics question myself. Brent, I have to agree with you that if you did sign up for cryonics, I think it's definitely important to have the whole body as opposed to the head. I think there's some little known that's about consciousness, and for sure, like the different organs can have parts of the consciousness. Maybe by losing my spleen, maybe there was a part of my consciousness that was like lost in that. Like, who knows what the consciousness is? Like our heart, our microbiome, like everything you said. That's such a big important point. But I'm skeptical that cryonics would even work. I'm very pessimistic about it. I don't really think you could bring, and I think all these people that have been cryonicized, I don't think they're coming back. So I'm pretty black-pilled in that regard. But I'm into figuring out something better than cryonics. Like, I think just being in a advanced life support system in the hospital, just like hooking yourself up to the machines and keeping the blood pumping through your body, that's much better. That's a much better alternative. And I'd rather spend the money on things just like anything that can keep me alive. I want to go all in on just staying alive. I want to be fully invested in this life and not dying. I don't want to have a backup plan. I've heard philosophies before and different philosophers saying, like, if you have a backup plan, you're more open to failing because you have a plan, another plan. I want to be fully invested in the first plan. So that's kind of my thoughts. And
it's not just money too, Rowan. It's time, money, energy. And I personally, my general, standpoint on cryonics is, if that's your thing and that's what you want to do and that's what you want to spend your time talking about, then all due respect to you, go do it. I'm a libertarian. I let people do what they want to do. But what Rowan just said, I want to piggyback on that. I want to focus on staying as young and healthy and alive as possible. And if I start to see as I get older that maybe cryonics or biostasis, whatever, this preservation of the identity in the physical form can be proven or shown at least more data that it's closer to proven to actually work, then maybe I'll get a little bit more interested in it. But right now, I think that if I were to,
that too, Brent, I'm focused on life extension, all that stuff. That's number one priority, and that should be, and that's common among, I would say, most all the cryonic, members. So
I
definitely
agree.
Focus on that priority, and then worst case scenario, if those don't work, you have the cryonics. That's what you should look at it as, not as, hey, I'm going to have that cryonics. I'm just going to go ahead and not even worry about aging at this point, just live an unhealthy life because I got that to worry about, to fall back on. That should never be the thought process. It should be focused on having a healthy life, try to, aging and those kind of things. Worst case scenario, you have that to fall back on. That should be the priority among, and that's who I've talked to among the cryonics community, that's their thought process too.
And Max, I completely agree with you, but there's one thing that I want to shed light on that maybe you're not aware of. Rowan shared his story that when he was 9 years old, he had a bicycle accident and he lost his spleen. That's when he got really interested in longevity. I've been in this for 15 plus years. I've read tons of books, like literally thousands of hours on the internet, YouTube, interviewed people, read more books, been to tons of conferences. I have seen and talked to many people who are into cryonics, and they just kind of have this idea of like, well, I'm good, I got cryonics, and I have seen it kind of affect their what they're doing in their life. I've witnessed that firsthand, and so they're generally older people, and they've kind of lost hope. So I want that to be clear as well too. They're not exactly like 20 and 30 and 40-year-olds, but I've seen it happen quite a bit, and it is a little frustrating. So take Max's advice. Definitely, if you do want to sign up for chronics, go ahead and do it, but don't let that in any way, even in your subconscious mind, affect your drive to live as long and healthy as possible.
It's similar to, like, someone that's taking weight loss supplements. Someone that's taking weight loss supplements isn't going to just go buy pizza all the time and burgers because, hey, it's fine because I got weight loss supplements, right? That doesn't work.
Some people do that though. They're dumb,
Right. It's you still got to make everything work in the process. You still got to live the healthy life, and that should be the priority. And with anti-aging, with all these opportunities and supplements, you don't want to just take all these supplements but then have an unhealthy life, right? It makes no sense. So obviously, what we said, priority with cryonics, that should be a last resort. Focus on priority is longevity and healthiness. And I honestly can't wait until we talk to Max Moore and get his opinion as to why he is just a neuro member and not a full body member. So I'm really eager to figure that one out and bring up Brent's research and see if he's heard of it or not. There's a possibility that he doesn't know about Brent's research, and we could change the CEO of Alcor's mind. So I think that would be pretty fascinating. So
just to be clear, it's not my research. It's just things that I've shared. But right. I know you didn't mean that. I'm just trying to be clear.
And something that relates to this is Elizabeth Holmes, the founder of Theranos. She's like a hero of mine, and she has the same kind of philosophy. She said, the minute you have a backup plan, you've admitted you're not going to succeed. So the idea behind this, what I'm talking about, is like if you have this backup plan, like, oh, okay, cryonics will save me if I fail, then you might subconsciously not try as hard to live forever and just not die in the first place. You might not take anti-aging as seriously. You might not just you might just like kind of slack off a little bit because you think, oh, I have this backup plan, it's okay. I know that a lot of cryonicists may say that that's not affecting them, but it might subconsciously, it might be unavoidable almost. I don't know. Anyways.
I can see that. I can counter that with another subconscious mind part of a benefit as to cryonics is, as we talked about earlier in the stream, worrying, right? You don't want to have stress. Well, having a backup plan like cryonics, it alleviates that stress of worrying if the life extension treatments don't work, right?
I think that's a good point, Max. I think that's a fair point for some people. Listen, I think it comes down to what I try to point out a lot. This is a personal decision, personalized medicine. We're all different, right? And to say that we're just different biologically is not enough. We're thinking, emotional creatures with different experiences and different things going on in our brain. So I'd like to leave it at, hey, this is a personal decision. I think we've talked about it at length. Can we maybe move on to another subject at this point and talk about staying as young and healthy as possible?
All right, good point. All right, let's talk about the next question is Gary Susi says, do you become a dark elf using methylene blue? No, I heard you actually become one of those creatures in the Avatar. You become like an avatar.
No, it's a troll. It's not elves. It's you become a dark troll.
Oh, a dark
right?
troll.
And you then hang out under bridges. This is like pretty well known and established information, I think, right?
Right. All right. So, any other questions we could? There's a bunch of questions in the chat, probably, or a bunch of comments we can look it through.
If we erased all of our memories, then who are we then? This is from Sarah Roberts. That's a good question. I mean, it does happen to some people. It's really, really sad, and it's a deep philosophical question. It comes down to what you always have to do. What I talk about is, make sure you define the terms of the question first. And who are we? I mean, it's a deep question that we don't fully know, and our language is so subjective. So I'm not even going to try and tackle that one. It's too philosophical.
Yeah. Anything else we can comment on in the chat here? I have a question for you, Brent.
Mm-hmm.
Of everyone, if you could interview one person right now, who would you interview if you could just like immediately get an interview?
In life extension
Just
or
anyone
just
in the
anybody?
world, dead or alive. That'll add an interesting twist. Dead or
Oh.
alive.
Well, hold on. So alive, I'd probably say Elon Musk, and I would ask him only life extension questions, and he would. I assume that part of the question is that he'd have to like sit there and do the interview with me, because I strongly believe that Elon Musk is secretly a very big life extensionist, and that he just doesn't talk about it for various PR reasons, and he wants to stay focused because he's worth approximately like $35 billion in running, a public company in Tesla.
Are you aware that he said he's not a big fan of longevity? Do you think he was just like lying?
Yeah, reverse psychology. He's sure. I've heard him talk about that stuff. I think that he's trying to deflect more and more people like me coming to him for interviews and stuff.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Larry Page with Google even has more money than Elon Musk, and he's really into.
Yeah, I mean Jeff Bezos invested $100 million in Unity Biotech, which is Nathaniel David's. He's the co-founder and the CEO of the company. They're a Senolytics company. I've been studying billionaires and their interest in longevity for 15 years or so, since I got interested in this. Larry Ellison had his own life extension research charity dating back to the 90s. There used to be a website. He has since taken it down. But look at him. He's like 75 years old right now. He looks pretty darn good for a 75-year-old, and he talks and acts very young, in my opinion. Yeah, we could do a whole live stream about billionaires who are multi-billionaires, who are interested in life extension. And I'll tell this story because I tell it quite a bit. I'll make it really fast because you guys, Max and Rowan, already know this. But Warren Buffett is very interested in life extension, according to Dr. Peter Attia. Peter Attia, he runs he's a medical doctor. He runs an anti-aging practice in New York. He's popular on social media as well. And he said, I heard him say in 2018 that one of his patients has been friends with Warren Buffett for decades, and he would see Warren Buffett about every 6 months for many decades. And every time he would see Warren would tell him how excited he is about an investment opportunity. But over the past couple years, so this would have been 2016, 2017, 2018-ish timeline, the only thing Warren wanted to talk about when he saw his friend was, longevity, anti-aging research that he's privately doing. So my big question is, Warren, why haven't you made an investment yet? And you're 89 years old, your clock is ticking and running out. So let's jump in and make a big investment and bring a lot of credibility and more money to this longevity world.
Heck yeah. And if Elon wasn't a fan of longevity, he might be now, after having conversations with Grimes, because she's literally like a life extensionist.
There's your biggest, Rowan, there's your biggest Easter egg right there. Look at who his girlfriend is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Do you really think that that's it right there? The guy's running a massive company, he has to stay serious and stay focused on running his companies. He can't just constantly be talking about anti-aging on Twitter. And he can, I would actually like him to be, but I'm sure this is what his investors and what people around him are telling him and have convinced him to have right now. You guys have to be really careful in understanding these super wealthy people and how the financial system works, especially with public companies. Just because these billionaires say something in public, it doesn't mean that they actually believe that, right? You have to be smarter than that and a little bit more experienced to understand how the world really works. Jeff Bezos still hardly never talks about it, but look at what his actions are. He invested $100 million in Unity Biotech. I've never seen on video Jeff Bezos talk about longevity at all. Somebody please find it, because I'd love to see it.
Right.
What? You said Jeff Bezos? You don't know if he talked about longevity?
I'm saying that I've searched on YouTube many times over many years to see Jeff Bezos talk about longevity, in some kind of detail, and I can't find it, but he invested $100 million. I might have seen something.
You guys want to know how much Grimes is actually into life extension? We're not just making this up. I'm reading a quote right now. It's on the screen. It says, this is Grimes, okay? She says, my training is 360 approach. I first maintain a healthy cellular routine where I maximize the function of my mitochondria with supplements such as NAD+, acetyl-L-carnitine, magnesium, etc. This helps promote ATP, and it's incredibly visceral. From that point, I spend 2 through 4 hours in my deprivation tank. This allows me to astroglide to other dimensions, past, present, and future. In the afternoons,
She's pretty smart.
Yeah. And she says...
Well, she's dating Elon Musk, guys.
Dude, artists are freaking dumb, dude, right? And so she's pretty smart, man. That's impressive.
Yeah, she's freaking a life extensionist. You know, and she's really into the red light, okay? She's really into the red light therapy. I got really serious about the red light after I saw how much she's into it. She outfitted her music studio with the highest quality red lights, and she's just really into it. Okay, the red light therapy. So, anyways, just thought that was
I would agree with everybody here that Elon Musk would be definitely by far the most fascinating person to interview, and especially if we can get him even more energetic and passionate about life extension. I think he is the best vehicle to finding an answer than anybody, just based off his past, right? Nobody believed that we can have affordable 100% electric vehicles. What did he do? Tesla broke that barrier. Nobody believed that we can have a private space company that can actually, compete with NASA. What did he do? SpaceX. That now actually fuels the International Space Station, which is fascinating. So he's breaking barrier by barrier by barrier, and I feel confident that if there's someone that can break the barrier of aging, he has the track record to do it more so than anybody else.
And I'll just say he's 48 years old currently here in 2020, and I know that he was balding tremendously when he was about 30 years old, and it's been pretty clear that he had hair transplant for that. But that aside, I think for 48 years old, especially considering his public lifestyle that he's talked about tremendously, about working crazy hours, like 120 hours a week, not sleeping very much, sleeping in the factory, I still think he looks pretty darn good. And his brain is like working perfectly, basically. He's really, really smart. And so that alone has to tell you that he probably understands a few things about the human body and how to optimize it and keep it young and healthy. So I'll just kind of leave it at that. Do we want to, before we move off the topic, Rowan, do we want to talk about other, multi-billionaires, billionaires who've shown an interest in longevity? Because I do think this is
I think it's
really
a
important
good time
topic
to talk about that. Yeah.
I've been to Calico's office. I sold them about 3 years ago, and unfortunately, I didn't find any information there. They have a really nice office. It's in South San Francisco, state of the art. They just finished building it recently, before 2017 when I was there. Nice folks. I have no idea what they're doing there, and it's incredibly frustrating. I was so excited when I heard Calico was announced in 2013. So there's one more example of why I'm quit my job, my high-paying job at LinkedIn, to do this work full-time, and nobody's paying me a dime to do this. I just found out I probably should turn on monetization on my YouTube channel because apparently the YouTube algorithms have been hurting me. I've been purposely not turning on monetization so that you guys can find my content for free, but I think I'm going to do a little bit of research and then turn on monetization now to actually help more people find my videos. How counterintuitive is that, right?
Yeah.
Max, can you actually, we were talking about that before you joined. Have you heard about this? Do you have any insights here?
I actually don't. I don't know much about that, actually. I haven't looked
So
into it.
Alex told Rowan that apparently the YouTube algorithms work better when your monetization is on because YouTube wants you to have the monetizations on, so they make more money,
Okay.
which makes
Yeah, I thought you were
perfect sense. But I've been purposely saying, hey, I'm not going to make much money off of my current view count, with having the monetization on. So I'm going to leave it off so people can find my content easily. Well, now I feel like I've been sabotaging myself by having it off.
Right. I was doing the same thing.
So I'll do some more research on that, but sorry to my viewers now if you're going to have to watch ads, but I really want you guys to find my content as easily as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like I'll do some research, but it sounds like I'm going to turn on my ads now, which...
Hey, I don't see Rowan's picture. You guys see him?
What?
Yeah, so Bobby,
see-
we can only see Rowan, but we can see him on the live stream. I'm actually watching the live stream on my phone here so I can read the comments, and Rowan's there, but Rowan is not.
And on the stream?
I'm a little delayed.
I'll try to
For
fix
whatever reason,
that.
a little delayed.
All right. So what were you guys talking about?
Bobby, it's voice activated, so when you talk, you come up. So yeah, you were just on there, now I'm on there. You're gonna.
And so to Brent's viewers too, the reason he hasn't been posting very much is because our strategy is to collect as many interviews as possible, because this requires a large amount of effort, and Brent has been doing everything on his own, right? And all of us have been doing everything on our own. And so we got the idea. We're like, dude, let's freaking partner with each other, share the workload, and talk to all of these scientists and wealthy investors, and compile them, and then post them based on the algorithm, the best that we know. We're coming back soon, and we're gonna have a lot of videos. We're gonna have vlogs. We're gonna have tours. We're gonna have, honestly, dude, we're gonna have some pretty cool stuff. Okay, we're gonna have a 24/7 live stream that is gonna be so sexy, dude. And man, that's coming soon too. The 24/7 live stream. We're literally just gonna live stream 24/7. Some very important things. So,
and we're hoping that can illustrate some charity and some outreach and donations. We're going to have a donation bar for that, and hopefully we can make a huge impact, not just with donations like in money, but also just outreach and getting that viral and just getting people awareness and getting people to know the cause. So, and we encourage everybody when we do that live stream to just share it and tell everybody and let it start, because small things like that can make huge impacts to developing and increasing the awareness.
Heck yeah. Hey, speak on this subject of billionaires who want to live forever. You guys want to see my favorite quote by a billionaire who wants to live forever? Check it out. It's on the screen right now. This is Mark Zuckerberg, okay? He said, "I'm most interested in questions about people. What will enable us to live forever? How do we cure all diseases?" I mean, how can you get more obvious than that? This guy is the biggest life extensionist, transhumanist ever.
And Rowan, such a big fan. Putting his money where his mouth is. He's not just talking. He's donated at least $8 billion to the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, which is their charity, and I think he's now donated 11 billion, or he has plans to donate 3 more to get to 11 billion,
right? And
then I think even has plans to donate more. So I want to get the audience excited about the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, and I like their strategy where they're not just giving money away or trying to acquire companies, and they're trying to figure out what research teams, whether it's a private company or whether it's a university or whether it's a private individual, what teams have the best strategies to cure aging and diseases, and they're going to fund them. So it's just really, really exciting.
Heck
Mark is really impressive.
Did you happen to?
I think most people here. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just asking Rowan if Rowan got what I sent in the Skype chat there. I thought that's something that the viewers could see too, just as the quick hype of what the possibilities are in terms of finding, cures for aging for a breakthrough.
Oh, I'll check it. Let me see.
Yep.
Bobby, what were you going to say? You and Max were kind of talking over each other. What were you going to say?
So, Mark Zuckerberg is a very impressive human being. 1 second.
While Bobby's pausing, I'll just say, listen, whatever your thoughts are about Facebook or whatever, or maybe Mark Zuckerberg's past, if you don't like him for certain reasons or this or that or the data privacy stuff, you got to get over it, or at least separate that. You can hate Mark Zuckerberg for certain things that he's done with Facebook and privacy, and if you buy into the, Cambridge Analytica stuff, at least champion his efforts with the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative to help us live longer and cure diseases. This is what I talk about not falling into this divisive trap of just saying this person's done something wrong, therefore we hate them and demonize them forever. No, we need to jump on the great ideas and help people who are doing that, and then tell people, hey, in another way you're bad, and separate those. It's really important in general for people to be more like that.
First off, society is extremely complex, and trying to innovate things about society and make rules and stuff is very difficult, and the ability to make mistakes is very high. And so having one of the biggest social media platforms, right, that kind of is a big picture of what's happening. But there's also a lot of evidence for him doing things that are malevolent. So and so it's really refreshing to see him put so much money into trying to cure all diseases and manage all the diseases in our lifetime. And he is just so impressive, man. Right, like the dude, to make that leap at such a young age and with so much wealth, and to really do the research behind his claims. Of course, his wife is a freaking genius doctor. Also, I'm sure that helps. But he when he talks about it, he's very coherent and knowledgeable about curing all diseases. And so it's extremely impressive. And hopefully, I think maybe most wealthy individuals, when they hear him say these things, are like, okay, this is just Mark. He's super ambitious. He's going to make claims like this. But they don't understand what Mark understands, which is we are getting very close to defeating all diseases. And so,
hopefully,
you need to see more millionaires doing this.
It's trending really well. It's trending.
Right.
5 years ago, we're in a much better position now than we were 5 years ago, and it seems to be speeding up. So let's keep it rolling.
All right. We have another question. Keep on sending in your questions, you guys. So Gairi Susi, hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Who of you is it that knows the Rue? Devin Tracy. That would be me. I haven't spoken to him in a long time, but back in the day, we did some collaborations. It's another YouTuber, Devin Tracy, and we haven't talked in a while, but he was pretty excited about life extension several months ago, and he made a video about it. And I haven't really heard him talk about life extension in a while. He mainly focuses on different social issues and things like that. But I hope he makes some more.
Dude, I forgot that I forgot that we freaking brought up AJ's name. I don't want to say his name again because I don't want us to get banned. And I think if you say to the algorithm, I heard that if you say I do not support Alex Jones, then it's okay to talk about him. I think that's what they're doing. That's their censorship rule. So I'm not sure if they can catch a wink wink, but yeah, we do not support Alex Jones, just in case the algorithm heard us earlier.
I mean, I'll say it straight up, man. Like, I'm not a fan of censorship, especially what's going on right now in social media. This is a very, very slippery slope that we seem to be going down, and I really
need the Constitution to make an amendment or change the freedom of speech and include clauses or whatever about social media and fucking not being able to censor people.
Let's try and focus on longevity, only because there's plenty of people talking about this stuff, and I don't want to get banned. I don't think any of us want to get banned. Honestly, I'm happy that we have this platform right now to talk about this and educate people about longevity science. So other people can kind of fight that fight. I think is probably the route we should take, the more I think about it, honestly.
You guys know what the worst thing about censorship is? That's the worst thing about censorship.
Brent is
freaking hate that.
Brent is like, we should stick to longevity, and then Rowan's like, what's the worst thing about censorship?
Well, he's not calling anything out. I think it's fine to say statements like that, I think, but you're right. I mean, who knows? But yeah, I mean, Rowan, something that a lot of people don't think about when it comes to censorship is bad. I'm going.
Do you guys know what I did there? I said the worst thing about censorship is, and then I muted myself, so hopefully in the live stream they couldn't see what I did there. Yeah.
But something that people don't fully understand or maybe haven't thought about censorship is that when you're muting somebody and censoring them, if they're dumb or wrong, you're not letting them just be dumb or wrong. That way people can be like, hey, that person was wrong. I'm going to move away and not listen to that person anymore. So, when you censor them, then they go to other channels and maybe people follow them that way. just let people have freedom of speech. There's more outlets now than ever on the internet, for people to have their free speech. So I just say let people do it, but I'm not running a big multimedia tech company or anything. So I want to say, while I'm still talking, I want to say I like Gairi, Susi, whatever you say it. I'm a big South Park fan, so I don't know why she brought this up, but she mentioned Tree Fitty. So Tree Fitty. I love that episode. One of the most underrated episodes of South Park. Everybody knows the episode we're talking about, right?
350. No.
So this is one of the earlier episodes of South Park, and it was Chef's parents were in the episode, and Chef's parents were, his dad in particular was all about $3.50, and the little kids couldn't understand what he said. So he'd be like, I'm going to need about $3.50. And they thought he was saying tree, like the plant. So it's like basically everything in the episode came back to $3.50. So it'd be like, Chef's dad would be like, there's a knock at the door, and it was a nice little Girl Scout who came there, and that Girl Scout said, I would like to show some cookies. I said, oh, sure thing, Girl Scout. How much are those cookies? That Girl Scout looked up at me, and that Girl Scout, you know what she said? You know what she said to me? She said, I'm going to need about $3.50. And then Chef's mom in the background is like, $3.50. Well, it was about that time I noticed a Girl Scout was 8 stories tall and a monster from the Cretaceous period. And I said, God damn it, Loch Ness Monster, why you coming here? We work for our money. We don't just go giving it away. I gave that Loch Ness Monster $1. You gave that Loch Ness Monster $1? No wonder he's coming back asking for $3.50. So I'd encourage everybody to check out the $3.50 episode of South Park. Now, Jari, maybe you can reply, why did you say $3.50 in the comments? I
could listen to you talk like that for like an hour.
I do a lot of impressions. We haven't even gone there because I talk about longevity, but I'm a big impressionist.
Dude, like, man, when we start up the podcast, the studio. So everyone, our studio is gonna be so sexy. We're gonna live stream the studio. We're gonna have, we're gonna be giving organisms life extension treatments and extending the lifespan, in real time, collecting data, measuring biomarkers. I mean, there's a lot of potential in this studio we're making. And so, we're all going to be jumping in front of it. And it's going to be so sexy. And, hopefully Brent brings some of his comedy to the podcast.
If you guys are Family Guys fan as well, the old man Herbert the pervert. Say, you boys like popsicles? You need to come on down to the cellar. I have a whole freezer full of popsicles.
Dude, you could be like a voice actor. Like
Sounds
we need to make
perfect.
like a life extension cartoon. You could definitely be a voice actor in it.
Yeah, I have some other talents you guys
Oh, fuck, dude. Hey, so we wanted to make, Alex and I were like, dude, Rowan knows how to make some pretty good studio quality, like movie quality stuff, right? And so then fucking sorry. bleep that live stream. And so freaking Max said that he brought up the fucking movie. You want to talk about that, Max?
You're talking about
You're on
Age
mute.
of Adam.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Talk about
so-
the dude that we're going to get in contact with.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't. Have you guys seen Age of Adeline? Brent?
Oh my gosh, I hate that movie. It's such a deathist movie. I made quotes about it. I made quote pages about it, and like it's so deathist. She's like pro-aging. She wants to die and everything. She's
Dude,
like, oh,
right.
Is Max's
Yeah.
movie, Rowan?
But in that movie, they predict that in 2035 will be the cure that what she had in the movie to aging. Anyway, the director, the producer of that film is actually a strong, believe it or not, which is contradicting, isn't a strong immortalist, and he has some pretty interesting stuff. So he's doing some research right now. And one of the things that he's researching is, I wish I can pull that up, but it's a particular substance, and he already feels, he said in the interview, 100% confident that he's testing should allow what we saw in Age of Adeline in the movie quite possible. And he didn't say 99%; he was 100% confident. So I would love to kind of pick his brain to see kind of how he's so confident with it, and what it is that gives him such high confidence in that particular ingredient.
Wow.
So. Yeah.
I have an exciting update here from Gary Susi. She says that methylene blue equals troll and troll equals ask for Tree Fitty. So actually, Tree Fitty was a Loch Ness monster, but I now see why you brought that up, and I'm glad you did, so that way I could do my little impression. So,
and we have another question from Humankind. It says, did you guys see Aubrey de Grey on Joe Rogan yesterday? Yeah, we were talking about that earlier in this stream. If you did, what did you think? So yeah, we were talking about that a little bit. I saw just a little bit. I probably watched only 10 minutes of it. I really want to watch the whole thing, but Brent was gonna watch it and summarize it all for me.
Yeah, so I watched the full episode, and I watched the first episode of Aubrey and Joe back in 2015, and then I watched it again in my preparation to interview Aubrey in July 2019, as well as I watched so many interviews. I've watched so many interviews of Aubrey de Grey on YouTube over a decade plus, and then I watched so many leading up to my interview.
Everything he says.
I could recite quite a bit. Yeah, Aubrey's really smart.
Let's do a voice impersonation. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So in any event, it was a really good episode. It was a really good episode of Joe Rogan having on Aubrey de Grey. There were some really exciting things that he talked about. However, unfortunately, honestly, for me, I didn't particularly learn any big things new. But then again, I follow this stuff like day and night all the time for many years. So
right. I remember looking at the comments, and in the comments, it's just crazy how many people are just commenting on his beard. And actually, I noticed a lot of the comments were just about his not looking young, and they're like, I'm not gonna take advice from someone that looks old. He looks like he's already so old. And
yeah, it's really not good. People like David Sinclair, and other people are, they're actively taking stuff, and I don't think Aubrey's really taking anything, because Aubrey doesn't care about extending his lifespan to 110, 130. Okay, I mean, I'm sure he does a little bit, but I mean, from what I've heard from him, he doesn't really care. He cares about defeating death. Okay, and if adding 5 or 10 years to his life, he feels like isn't going to make that big of a difference. He would say 3 to 5. Right. I don't think he thinks that we could extend lifespan by 10 years with what we have. Maybe I'm wrong. But, I've only heard pessimism from him when it comes to life extension, gene therapy, stem cell therapy, supplements, drugs, etc. So that's too bad. So that's probably the reason why. I mean, and also he drinks a lot of beer, supposedly. And
Bobby,
he claims that he has genetic predispositions for beer not affecting him negatively, but it's okay, dude, that's just a scientific way of saying that you're an alcoholic.
Right.
Or denying that you're an alcoholic.
So guys, those two major things that Bobby touched upon there, those were addressed during the interview. And Bobby, you haven't heard it yet, right? You've been busy the last couple of days, right? Okay. So to address those 2 points, they both came up during the interview. They actually drank whiskey during the interview. So in the first few minutes, Joe and Aubrey were talking about beer, and Aubrey, says he normally has, 3 or 4 or maybe 5 or 6 drinks in a day. Mm-hmm. And so Joe's like, oh, we can get you some beer. I think we have some Heineken here. And Aubrey goes, that's not beer. I don't drink Heineken, which I thought was pretty funny. Aubrey likes to drink stout beers, IPAs, things like that. And he likes to drink whiskey. So that's that regarding the alcohol. And then this is a very, very misunderstood thing about Aubrey and aging in general that they did discuss on Joe Rogan that I want to point out right now, because it's pretty enlightening for people that might not understand how this works. So Aubrey's focusing on reversing aging. That's the major thing that he's focused on. So, right now in 2020, in this point in time, we will only know as time ticks on. But right now, yes, he does look a little old. I don't think he looks particularly too old for his age. I believe he's 57 years old currently. His hair has started graying a little bit, but he does, in my opinion, look pretty darn good. When I saw his hands, when I interviewed him in July, and I saw him again at RADFest in October, his hands look really young. He doesn't have any aging spots or any type of dryness or like the wrinkles. He looks good. He's very active. Every single like biomarker test that he's done does come out about 10 years younger biologically than his chronological age, and he did mention that on Joe Rogan.
Does he provide that information online? His biomarkers?
No, he does in the movie The Immortalist. You have to pay for it. It's a great movie. I think they filmed it in 2012, 2013. Yeah, him and Bill Andrews are the main two scientists in that movie, and they go to Dr. Terry Grossman's office, who Dr. Terry Grossman co-wrote Transcend with Ray Kurzweil.
No way.
Yeah, and so they go to their office.
Went there? That's where they went? I didn't know that.
Yeah, in the documentary. It's great. You have to pay for it. You know what? I have it on my Google account, Bobby, so I'll let you watch it through that avenue. But in any event, they do a bunch of tests. They do a bunch of tests in Terry Grossman's office, like tons of biological tests, and not just that, but like running on treadmills with oxygen hooked up. And, Aubrey de Grey did come out biologically younger than Bill, but Bill is, I believe, about 10 years chronologically older than Aubrey, so Bill's older. But this kind of upset Bill Andrews because he's super competitive, but they both came out, remarkably under their age biologically than their chronological age. But sorry, I didn't actually get to the point. I want to wrap this up. The point that's really crucial that Aubrey made that people don't understand is do not take what he looks like right now as lack of evidence or belief that anti-aging therapies will come about for two reasons. Number one, Aubrey is openly saying he's not doing any of that stuff. He doesn't even get enough sleep. He travels like crazy. He's in airplanes all the time. He thinks he gets pretty good exercise by lugging around his luggage, in the airport, but he probably drinks too much. What he is so convinced of is that he will be able to reverse aging. I misspoke. He's not convinced of that, but he's convinced that it's not super important as people think to stay young and healthy, because he's working on therapies that he believes will reverse the aging. So if I really want to,
I think a better term than reversal is regenerate. He likes the word regenerate, and he wants to make that an actual term. And then a second thing, what was it? And dude, look, skin and gray hair and hair color is not the best biomarkers for biological aging. Okay, people. Okay, we have organs inside of us, and they're very complex, and there's many biomarkers that we found and have not found. And so if you're just going based on looks, I mean, come on, you're kind of embarrassing yourself, right?
That's
maybe
true.
you came from Hollywood or something.
That's a good point, because there's a lot of models and stuff that are like really beautiful on the outside, but they're like really unhealthy. And
but then there's snorting meth all day, dude, and they got holes in their freaking nose. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yeah, you can look good on the outside, like me. Look at me, dude. I look so good, but I look good on the inside too. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All those points are really good. I want to point out just a couple other really quick things. So I go back and forth on this. Aubrey is like one of the top leaders of this movement, if not like the most public, leader and recognizable person. So I think he's just taking the decision that, he doesn't want to necessarily be public about what he does. And I do believe him that he's not doing much, because he does believe he'll be able to regenerate if these therapies, come about. But, another thing is that me personally, I'm doing everything that I know of in a financially responsible way. And that includes my wife and now my son. I have now a 14-week-old son. So I'm doing everything that I possibly can in a financially responsible way to stay as biologically young as possible. But he's clearly not doing that based off what he's publicly saying.
And you know what? Maybe this ties into what we were talking about, because I think Aubrey de Grey might be signed up for cryonics. So maybe because he thinks he has his backup plan, maybe he's not trying as hard as he could be.
He's an advisor. He's an advisor to Alcor.
Right. So what we're saying is, like, maybe because he thinks he has this backup plan, he's pretty confident that cryonics will work. Maybe that's why he's not trying as hard to be young and care about his health.
That's not why. Okay, you're not going to support your argument against cryonics, man. Max and I will not let you get away with that anymore. Okay, dude. Max and I will convince Aubrey to take life sentence treatments. I swear to God, I'm going to email him right now, dude, because I'm talking to him through email. I'm going to email him right now and be like, dude, you need to take EGCG, take some royal jelly, and freaking something else, because if you die, man, like a life without Aubrey, dude, of eternity. Come on now.
Yeah, we
Like
need
he
Aubrey.
honestly really is the face of it right now for life extension.
We need Aubrey to live forever.
Yeah, in a way, guys, if you think about it, the fact that he's not doing anything for his aging, I'm not trying to put words in his mouth, but it seems, because I've thought deeply about this for many years, it kind of seems like he's in a way saying, no, I'm so confident that we're going to be able to reverse aging that I'm not going to waste my time buying all this stuff and doing all this stuff. I'm working to develop these therapies with every financial and time and energy effort that I have, so that once they're done, I'll be actually able to regenerate and reverse, my aging. And so, I don't want to put words in his mouth. I was proselytizing there, so please don't go out and say, like Brent said, that this is what Aubrey is thinking. It kind of makes sense if you think about it, and if you think about maybe that's how he's thinking about it.
All right. But if he does live forever, I'm a little worried he might go destroying monogamy, because he's so against monogamy. He thinks eventually he wants monogamy to be destroyed. Like, he wants everyone to be promiscuous, and he wants everyone to treat sex as though it's like playing chess. What the heck? That's weird. What the heck? Like,
who cares? But you're a libertarian,
give
Ron. Who cares? Let people do whatever they want to do.
right. That's true. Okay, you got me.
And that's coming from a married person.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. Do whatever you want to do. I got married because it's what I wanted to do.
Right. That's true. But
Right.
I agree with that. Libertarianism when it comes to love, eternal love.
Are you going to be married forever, Brent?
Who knows? We'll see. We'll have to see how things play out. That whole forever thing. I know my YouTube channel starts off with the Forever Young song, particularly because I like that song. It's catchy and it ties in. But, the whole forever thing, you can never live forever, right? You can never say, I've done it, I've lived forever.
Look, dude.
There's always
I am
another
not
second
dying.
that ticks by. It's not a scientific or objective or
Bro.
falsifiable
I am
statement.
living forever.
It's not possible, Bobby, for the reasons I just said.
I mean, dude. First off, look. Okay, super intelligence is going to determine whether we can objectively measure forever. Okay, so we shouldn't feel confident that it's impossible, even though it likely is. And second,
But how do you
Dude, I am not-
refute what I just said though? Like, there's always going to be another second that ticks by, so you can never prove that you've lived forever. It's
dude,
not a.
okay. Look at this, escaping the universe or something, dude. Like I don't know. Look, dude, the universe is freaking complex, and just look at the last 100 years. Okay, we've completely changed our mindset about pretty much everything, and when we have super intelligence in the near future, okay, they're going to be able to answer these questions a lot better than us, and dude, I'm not dying. Okay, I'm gonna figure out a way to live. Okay, if fucking black holes start to engulf me, okay, I'm gonna do something about that. So yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
you guys, we have some audience questions. The first question is, what are your thoughts on the possibilities of hyper sleep pods for immortality? Interesting question. Hyper sleep pods. Okay, so that's along the same lines as like the Odin sleep. The Odin sleep, where it's like you
science.
sleep.
Well, I know NASA is currently doing something regarding that. They're trying to do sleep pods to send astronauts to Mars. I know that they're in the process for that, and so they're interested in it, but.
I think they mean like a rejuvenation sleep, like where you sleep so where you sleep so long that you're hyper rejuvenated when you wake up, and you wake up when you're super young because you slept so long. Like in Odin, like the movie Thor, there's Odin, and he sleeps for like 1,000 years, then he wakes up and he's like super young and healthy again.
Yeah, like I said,
I guess there is two ways of going about that. If it's more just sleeping and like suspended animation, where it kind of similar to cryonics, where you're just like you halt aging at that point in time, and then you can wake up and kind of like Austin Powers and all that kind of stuff. I guess there's that aspect, or there's the aspect that in the actual sleeping pod, it's actually injecting and actually helping you through that. So I guess it's specifically, is it just the suspended animation, or is it a pod that actually is sending, helpful, supplements and stuff throughout your body and keeping you alive? So I guess that's the real specificity to it.
Okay, so we have Austin Powers again. Not really scientific, science fiction. Since I did impressions, and since we're talking about Austin Powers, since you brought it up, maybe we'll do right after he was cryogenically unfrozen in the first Austin Powers. Mr. Powers, your penis enlarger? That's not mine, baby. Well, it says here, Austin Powers, penis enlarger, one penis enlarger. That's not mine, baby. That sort of thing's not my bag, baby. One book written by Austin Powers, Swedish-made penis enlargers and me. This sort of thing is my bag, baby.
Nice.
Put it in the bag. Right?
That's so good. You are so good at it.
Yeah, I know a lot of movies. So I grew up watching like tons of movies and comedies and South Park. So I do a lot of impressions, and I have a really good memory when it comes to like visual memories and stuff. So I can recite a lot of movies and quotes and silly things like that.
If we ever make a movie, we need to cast
You guys seen
you.
the movie The 100 or the show The 100? Very popular show The 100.
I heard about it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, well, I'm watching the show. Season 5. There's so many shows with hypersleep, but in season 5, their version of hypersleep was a pod that allows them to travel, because they need to go thousands of years, light years away, and so they have to, go to a pod, and it basically just halts aging. That doesn't make you younger in any way. It doesn't make you healthier in any way. It just halts aging, and you're just literally sleeping. You're not frozen. You're just sleeping, and halting the aging process. So there's several avenues of that. So like that could, I don't know. That's another option similar to cryonics, but you never know.
Yeah, I think it would be something to explore, like to induce a super long sleep. Like, what's the maximum amount of time that a human being could sleep? Like, if we took the right set of drugs or something, or entered a sleep chamber, and literally just like slept for what would happen if you slept for a month? Who's done that? Like I slept for a month straight.
People in comas, I mean, they weren't necessarily
yeah.
sleeping, going through all the
You have to
sleep
move
cycles, but what was that, Bobby?
You get bed sores and shit. Like, it's not good to sleep for too long. And I think like NASA was paying people to lay down, not sleep, but just to lay down. They're paying them pretty good too. Like lay down for months straight.
I know about that. It's
tell
a
about
2 month
you, dude.
study. NASA. Yeah, they're doing they're paying $19,000 to people that sleep, not sleep, but actually lay in bed for 2 months straight. Yeah. So and that's completely different though to their pods that they're working on for Mars.
Right.
That's testing more in lines of lack of gravity or something like that,
Because,
for how your body.
Like, minor changes in our movement have huge effects on like our blood system and really our entire body. And it's really interesting, actually. I took a class. I'm a bachelor's in biomedical science, and so we studied. I took a renal, freaking lungs and heart physiology class. And dude, like just like positioning yourself up like an incline by like a little bit, there's this huge cascading effect, and it's really big. It's really interesting. And so laying down versus being able to move, moving helps with like pumping the blood through your venous system, and I mean just so much, right? But don't lay it down for too long, dude.
All right, I have another question. Hadis Lavi says, and what do you think about creating a community of eternal life? I think that's a freaking awesome idea. I know Alex
Rowan,
is
haven't you already done that, Rowan? Like, what is the name of this YouTube channel we're on?
But we're not
on your Facebook group.
Yeah, this is all online though. I think he's talking about more of like physical, like meeting up physically, like living together or something, like a colony or something.
Right now. there's the church.
The Church
Yeah,
of
dude.
It is
Perpetual
the Church
Life.
of Perpetual Life,
Yeah.
right? Bill Fulton's church.
I mean, that was initially my
Make
goal.
the- yeah.
My goal with the Eternal Life fan club was to create a sense of community around the topic of just obsession with eternal life and
Dude,
helping each other
Rowan-
live forever.
Rowan,
But-
Brent, and Bobby, me, we're all next to each other in California, dude. So we do need to meet up in person. Okay, Immortalists, right?
Well, we are on
Because, dude,
Sunday, yeah.
Oh yeah, and so, somebody, look, people asking questions in the chat. Look, dude, you need to take initiative, right? I don't know if you read my message in the chat, but if you guys want to send us your email, you could Skype in with us right now for a little bit. But take initiative. Set the meetups, set up a meetup, and text message inside the live stream if you did that or not, and so that we can all meet up and game plan on how to live forever.
Yeah. I mean, I love the idea of a community helping each other live forever, like an ultimate think tank, just an ultimate collaboration of melding of minds, because it almost creates a new brain, like a mastermind, a hive mind, to figure it out faster.
But Rowan, that's like literally what we're doing right now with this live stream.
Yes.
You don't need to be in person. There are advantages to being in person, and we're going to meet up on Sunday. But
Right.
I think we're doing a pretty good job of sharing ideas and right
Yeah.
now, right?
Yeah,
Type in your email
Alex is really into
to
the
live
idea.
stream, and we will Skype you in.
Alex was really into the idea of creating I talked with him, and he wanted to create basically almost a little community. Well, yeah, so a community around transhumanism and living forever. He called it the transhumanist no-go zone, where he thinks you can almost create your own government and things like that. It's very anarchist type of thing. It's really interesting.
So there's Lieberland, which is right at the border of, oh man, my brain, it's been a long day. Croatia and whatever there is on the border of Croatia is basically this little tiny bit of land that these two countries actually didn't want due to bureaucratic reasons. They didn't want this land. So this guy stepped in. He's like, all right, I'll take it. So he took it, and now it's Lieberland. And it's a real thing. You can Google it. And Roger Ver has been involved with it, famous Bitcoin cryptocurrency pioneer. And, I haven't really heard much about it over the past couple of years, but, if something like that takes off, I could potentially, if things are, make sense, could see myself moving to a place like that where we could kind of start our own society. But, those things tend to devolve into cultish like type things.
Yes.
So you have to be really careful that those things don't happen.
So with that land, my question would be, are you avoiding all the federal laws of your hometown or your country of origin?
It's a nation
So say you're American, are you able to go to that and not have to follow federal American laws even though you're abroad to that other land?
Max, are you asking about Lieberland, or were you asking more about Alex's idea for something?
Lieberland in particular.
Lieberland is its own nation state. If you can Google it, and they have a Wikipedia page, you can read up about it. They basically have been. So it's the devil's in the details of this kind of stuff. It's kind of like in this purgatory type state where it's certainly not like a recognized nation state in the UN and stuff like that. And it's really just very small right now. So it's kind of not heaven or hell. It's in heck. And I just encourage people, if they're interested in it, to read up on it. But I haven't been following it much the past couple of years.
All right, so we have another question.
I'm trying to get.
But you guys want to talk more about the community?
Sorry, we're going over.
Sorry, go for it. Go. Sorry.
Yeah, I guess I was more wondering. So, something that I've always had a passion for since I'm a cryonics member. It's been proven that it would work so much better if you were able to be frozen while still alive, be cryogenically frozen. And that's obviously not allowed and illegal in currently every country. So being able to go to that land, imagining,
I would imagine that Lieberland would be totally cool with that because it's a libertarian, type of mentality, where you own your own body and you can do whatever you want with it. So yes, that'd be I'm confident enough in knowing their founding principles that they'd be totally cool with that.
Yeah, that would definitely be huge. I would definitely
guys,
love to do.
just think about like the fact that this conversation is happening right now, that most governments on the planet, you're not even allowed to kill yourself. It's literally against the law to commit suicide. Like the fact that you don't own your own body, and the government, the way that all the laws are set up on the planet, it tells you that the governments believe that they own you, essentially, and that they can control what you do with your own body if you're doing no harm to anybody else. Like that should make a few people scratch their head if they haven't already figured this out. So look at what's happening with China right now and other countries with the coronavirus. These governments have so much control over us in so many ways. I don't know if we want to steer the conversation off in this direction, and I know that I'm the one doing it, but it's something that I'm really passionate about. And I don't just study life extension. I study how the actual, how reality works is what I consider myself studying. And if you go down the rabbit hole, understanding how governments work, how money works, how our whole society is set up, it's really different than what most people actually believe.
With China, you were kind of referring to their social credit system now, where they're just like monitoring everything and like have this big communist type control government.
I wasn't actually referring to that, even though that's absolutely atrocious. I was just referring to the fact that they've basically shut down the whole country. You can't really get in or out right now. Now, they're claiming that's for really responsible reasons due to the coronavirus, and I'll actually take them at their claim on that right now. I'm not really even questioning that. But just the fact that they even have the power to do that, to essentially lock in all their citizens. It's just, these little things like the coronavirus, I think a lot of people freak out about this because it kind of awakens us to how the world actually works when you have these type of unexpected or very rare things start to occur.
Right. I think that the whole idea of a community, I think that would be especially important, like a community that lives together. That would be especially important for people who are into cryonics, because like, just imagine that if, according to your guys' philosophy, that the faster you get cryonicized after you die, that could really help your guys' cause if you believe that would actually work, to be in a community where they could just freeze you instantly. Like, I can see that being a thing, like a community based on cryonics, or I'd want like a community based on like something better than cryonics. Like if you were to die or something, that they would just try to resurrect you physically, like by putting a hot pepper in your mouth or something, or, using like an adrenaline shot to your heart or something like that to just revive you immediately. Or just put your body in an advanced life support system that's constantly being improved upon. I think that would be a good alternative. All right, we have another quote. Another question. What are your thoughts about fasting as a way of staying younger?
So this is something that actually came up, I believe, in the Joe Rogan, Aubrey de Grey interview a couple days ago. Now I am constantly always learning, reading, watching YouTube videos. So I believe that it did come up. And even if it didn't, one thing that I really want people to understand is that a lot of the life extension that we have strong evidence for in the scientific world is by shorter-lived organisms. So, fasting and fasting mimicking diets and calorie restriction has, been shown and known for many, many years to, extend life in many organisms. However, in humans, the health benefits short-term of intermittent fasting, I believe, are really, really strong. And when I say short term, I mean over a few years or things like that, or maybe even decades. However, I don't think that we have strong enough evidence to show that intermittent fasting, and that's a loaded term. So all the things I'm saying, take with a grain of salt. I don't think we have strong evidence that that's going to dramatically extend your life. It's certainly, there's no evidence that intermittent fasting is going to get you, alone to live past 120. So with that being said, I'm intermittent fasting right now. I have an intermittent fasting lifestyle. Every single day I try to get to about 18 hours. I've done multiple 2-day plus fasts of just water, multiple 72-hour plus day fasts. I think it's really good and healthy. But this is part of the problem where we just have not been a scientific society for long enough doing these real studies to see what the actual effects are long term on humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. The clinical studies are pretty recent, so it is a new thing, like Brent was talking about. But I would say that it is very promising, even if we don't have long-term clinical studies proving that it works. It's promising just due to the fact that it's been used by many religions for centuries. And there hasn't, if it was bad for your health, you would think that there was already something that would come out and show that through those religions that it's not something to do. But these religions have practiced fasting for a long time. Mormons, Muslims in certain ways. There's a lot of religions that practice fasting on a regular basis. So, and autophagy has been proven to take effect after 24 hours of fasting. So autophagy, as what everybody knows, is cell regeneration, and that's super fascinating. But like I said, that's been proven in clinical studies that autophagy doesn't really start and take a full effect until about 24 hours past fasting. So if you really want to take advantage of the autophagy, you would need to fast for 24 hours plus, which is definitely a little more difficult than the current, most common fasting protocols, which is like the 16-8, which is 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of eating. At that way, you're not really fully benefiting from the anti-aging aspect of the autophagy side of things. So me personally, I'm actually fasting 39 hours all the time. So because I'm obviously a life extension enthusiast, so I'm fasting for 39 hours so I can benefit from the autophagy. So
nice.
It's probably easier than calorie restriction, and there's human studies you can look at. There's a bunch of animal models, extended mice lifespan, other animals using intermittent fasting. And but the thing is that's very impressive about life extension treatments is you likely don't have to do these have to suffer like this with these. That's what we will likely discover because what they do is they'll test in mice these life extension treatments, these pills or something. They'll give it like royal jelly or EGCG or whatever. There's a bunch of them, right? I can't tell you all of them. And but so they'll give it to mice with like a high fat diet, or they'll give it to like really elderly mice, or they'll give it to they'll make the conditions really rough for the mice, really bad diet and stuff, whatever. And then they'll give them these pills, and the mice live almost equally as long as that mice on a healthy diet or on bad sleep or whatever. So, dude, we literally are very close to finding a pill or an injection to where, like, it doesn't matter how much you eat. It doesn't matter how much you sleep. That would be freaking awesome, dude. And so that's coming to a store near you. But for now, stick to the basics.
And that's another benefit of fasting, too. Just with, as we know, another fascinating thing, calorie restriction is shown to help with aging. And obviously, fasting helps with calorie restriction if you limit the amount of time that you eat and, fast. So kills two birds with one stone. Even if you don't follow the full 24-hour plus and benefit from the autophagy aspect, it benefits you in just helping you with the calorie restriction, certainly.
Gets two birds stoned at once, right?
And for people who are interested in learning more about intermittent fasting, I really recommend checking out Rhonda Patrick. She has lots of good interviews with experts in caloric restriction and fasting, and she really gets deep into the science of it. I like that.
Yeah, other YouTube channels that are fantastic for fasting are Thomas DeLauer. This dude's like jacked builder. He's incredible. Lots of good videos. And then also Dr. Eric Berg. He's a chiropractor. They both have 1 million+ subscribers on YouTube with very highly researched and well-produced YouTube videos about intermittent fasting.
Definitely.
Yeah, dude. People get jacked on.
Is one of my favorites. That's another guy. He's like a 600,000 subscriber, and he fasts. He does what's called the warrior diet. So he does 20 hours of fasting, 4 hours of eating, and he's done that for 2 years straight. And he blogs and talks about it and makes videos every day about it and shows his benefits. He's a huge advocate as well.
That's basically, Max, what I pretty much do. You know, sometimes it's a 6-hour window, sometimes it's 7, sometimes it's 8, but I try to go for like 24. I'm just not super strict on this because I have a life, I have like social functions and things, and I like to go with, you know, with what I'm feeling a little bit more. But generally, you know, I think that's a good way to go for some, you know, for some people. Give it a try.
So we have another question about Ray Kurzweil. Anyone know how Ray Kurzweil is doing these days with his anti-aging program? It's a good question because I remember last I researched it, he was just really had this huge protocol where he was taking like tons of supplements. Everyone wanted to know his supplement list. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't researched it in a long time. Anyone know?
So
I gotta look at that list.
I've followed Ray Kurzweil like very, very thoroughly for many years. I've interviewed him a couple times, and he follows me on Instagram, which is kind of weird. It's actually him, and yeah, it's kind of crazy actually. But in any event, he was taking about 250 pills every single day for many years. And then a few years ago, I want to say, I'm going off memory here, guys, so I'm giving you the best answer I can out of my brain. I think around like 2017, he said, oh no, I'm only taking like 100 pills now because as the new science has evolved, which of course he keeps up with, and as sometimes they've maybe changed so that like, you know, maybe something was in 2 pills and now it's in 1. He said he was taking like less than 100 a few years ago. But I think more importantly than that, what I'd really like to ask Ray right now is, why are you essentially the head of engineering at Google, where basically like when you type into Gmail and it's finishing your sentences now, that's basically the team that he's led to work on that. So he's really interested in, you know, How to Create a Mind is his book right there that he came out with in 2012. And he's really interested in this stuff. I want to know, like, why are you not working more directly on aging? Like, why are you not running Calico if you really believe in this stuff that much? And I'd really just like to see how he answers that question.
Good idea. Good thoughts there because, you know, yeah, you'd think he'd be more, like, really focused on the anti-aging part of it, right?
It's weird because like he's following me on Instagram. I'm almost positive it's really him because I've seen like Peter Diamandis and other, you know, influencers or like his friend actually tag that account when they are tagging him on Instagram. And I've seen him. He views my stories on Instagram. He follows me. He's liked some of my things that I've posted. Yet I sent him a message last year on Instagram and he ghosted me and never replied. So maybe I should send him another message. Maybe he didn't see it or maybe he got busy and distracted. I don't know, but I probably should reach back out to him and try and get an interview and try and see what's up. So maybe I'm so busy with other things, but maybe I should do that.
Yeah. All right, I'll check the comments here. Let's see here. What are people saying?
Don't forget, Jesus fasted for 40 days. He only lived 33 years of age. Wink face from Jerry Susi. So I think one thing that a lot of people don't really fully understand about the Bible is that a lot of the languages that in there hasn't been translated properly. And then a lot of the language is allegorical. So, you know, what I was taught, you know, I went to a Catholic high school. What I was taught is that anytime you see the number 40 in the Bible, whether it's the Old Testament or the New Testament, it actually just means a very long time. It doesn't actually mean literally 40 years or 40 days or whatever.
Interesting.
So, yeah, don't take that so literally, people.
I didn't know that. That's crazy. What's the longest anyone's ever fasted? I fasted for 5 days one time. That was pretty crazy.
87 hours, about 11 months ago. I did it last March. And I could have gone longer. My wife was like, Brent, you should eat. I had an important meeting coming up in a few hours, and she kind of like scared me or like convinced me into doing it. But I felt fine at the time. I was willing to keep going.
Yeah, I did 9 days, and I'm the same way, Brent. It sounds hard, but I thought it was going to be hard. But like really, it's that first 48 hours that's the most difficult because that's when all the hunger pains and everything is crazy. So after that first 48 hours, it's really, the hunger pains go away. It's just, you still have the cravings and the cravings are there, but once those hunger pains go away, it's pretty easy. And I actually felt at 9 days, I felt I had more energy. I felt really good, and I felt like I could keep on going.
Why did you stop?
My goal was 15 days, and the reason why I stopped was at my work we had a catering coming in.
Yeah.
Catering. Yeah.
So you caved in if the food just looked too good?
Oh yeah, and I mean, usually I'm good with that kind of stuff, but the catering that they had at that particular day was a very high end catering, and yeah.
What kind of response did you have, like, from your colleagues and your friends and family when they found out you've been fasting for 9 days?
It was definitely mixed. So majority of everybody thought I was ridiculous and crazy for doing that, and how there's no way that they would be able to do that. But yeah, it's like I said, it's not really high. There's not a lot of people that know about the benefits of fasting, and that's another thing that's, like we talked about, it's pretty new, and the trials are new to it. So
I'll just say two other YouTubers that talk about extreme fasting. So 21 and 21 plus days is Dr. Robert Kassar. He's got a YouTube channel for 100 subs. I've been following him for about a decade. And then also Lauren Lockman. So that's Loren. And I was about to interview Lauren on his channel recently, but I couldn't figure out how to stream live on YouTube with Skype integration like what we're doing now, which is actually, I found out, way more difficult than either of us realized. So I'll be working with Rowan on Sunday to try and do that on my YouTube channel.
Bro,
another one is Dr. Jason Jung. Dr. Jason Jung is a really good one to listen to. He does a lot of talks, and he's a huge advocate of intermittent fasting.
Dude, where is Rowan?
He did a really good
Wait, Brent, what was that doctor you just mentioned? Dr. Robert Kassar?
Robert Kassar, Cassar.
Oh, okay. I remember he's into anti-parasite stuff, right?
Yeah, so I actually he got me big into anti-parasite.
Because I was looking at your videos and I saw you had this video on papaya cleansing, like with the seeds of the papaya to cleanse the parasite. And did you learn that from him?
Yeah, I did. So he recommended a book called Parasite Rex, which, like, I thought it was back there. I don't see it right there. But the book was written in like 2000. And yeah, like, he had a bunch of YouTube videos where he talked about parasites. And, I read the book. And let me just tell you guys, parasites is more fascinating than what most people can imagine. And it needs more. We need to talk about it more in Life Extension. So most of the organisms on this planet are parasites. People don't realize this. The parasites live inside of us. And that word parasite is like...
You mean microorganisms?
Just parasites in general. Most of the organisms on the planet are parasites.
No, dude. You mean bacteria or parasites?
I mean exactly what I said. Most of the living organisms on planet Earth.
I mean, even the bacteria that live in us are parasites. Even the beneficial ones.
That's not obvious. You're a smart dude. That's not obvious.
The definition of parasites is something that's like, killing something else. That's like
no, it's not. No, it's not. That's what a lot of people don't realize.
There could be beneficial parasites. There could be symbiotic parasites.
There's commensal, and then there's parasitic, and then there is whatever it's called.
So no, it's not. There's a lot of misunderstandings about parasites. So first of all, there's good parasites and there's bad parasites. So a lot of people hear that word parasite and we generally colloquially in our language talk about them all being bad. But there are some parasites that live inside of us that are actually really good for our health. So what parasite actually means is it's an organism that can't survive on its own. So it goes inside of you to live off of, like, your organism, for example. So some of those are good, they're helping your health, and some of them are bad. You want them out. And so that book kind of explains all about that stuff and the history of it. You can have parasites that are smaller than a blood cell and they live in your blood cell, or you can have a parasite that's like a 30-foot long tapeworm that's living in your digestive system. And it could be a parasite that is craving chicken. So it could be spitting out hormones. So you think, ooh, I really want chicken. It could literally be this tapeworm living in you that's spewing out hormones, telling your brain to eat chicken because that's what it wants.
Wow.
So it's really, really crazy. I don't know how much we want to talk about it, but yeah, I did a video back in 2013. It's the most viral video.
I saw that. That was one of your most popular videos, the parasite
Yeah,
cleansing
it's
one.
horribly produced. It's on like an iPhone 4 in like 2013. I'm like working a job. I'm like, I wanted to find this information on YouTube. I couldn't find it. So I made that video. So that's actually a really good example of 0 to 1. We should be making videos of things that we cannot find on YouTube, to try and go viral more.
Right.
What are your thoughts on, Brent, what are your thoughts on the flatworm, the planaria worm that's immortal?
It's incredible. I mean, Alex on Transhumania has done some good videos about it, and I've researched it, just on Wikipedia and the internet. And I generally like to ask a lot of the longevity experts that I interview, what do they think about other organisms that, don't appear to age or are immortal, and what can we learn from them? And I just think it's Hydra's super incredible, how Hydra doesn't seem to age, and Hydra is a multicellular organism. Then you have the jellyfish, that's immortal in a different way. They all kind of age or don't age in different ways, or are immortal in different ways. So I think that in general, we should be studying these things a lot more and understanding how it works and seeing how we could maybe incorporate that into us. But I'll tell you that the final thing I'll say is it's super complex, and don't expect any like breakthroughs probably in the next year or two in that stuff.
Have you guys heard the theory?
There's something
aging
called
itself-
the Weismann barrier. So the planaria is impressive because it could regenerate like no other, right? You could chop its head off and it will literally regenerate its body and its head. And
Right.
So you'll have two. And so, there's actually a lot of organisms.
On and on and on and on. You could do that like hundreds of times, and you have like hundreds of them.
Yeah.
Right.
And so there's something called the Weismann barrier, and which is a barrier among organisms that are less complex, that they have this regenerative ability, and the more complexity you have, the less of a regenerative ability they have. Like, for example, we can regenerate, right? You can chop off like the tip of your thumb, quite a bit too, and it'll actually regenerate. Or you get a cut or something, or our livers regenerate like no other, probably because of larger blood supply, and lots of parasites and stuff. And so a lot of people, especially Dr. Michael West, the founder of Ajax, we're going to be talking to him soon. He's working really hard at trying to figure out how do we turn on these genes, these regenerative abilities, because we had them, right, that they were turned on when we were developing in the womb and mothers, and we were. Did you see our fingers and stuff, dude? There's people who have videos of that, of us developing, and you see our fingers, and they're freaking generating, dude. It's not regenerating, it's generating. And so we have the ability to do it. We have the genes. We just have to figure out how to turn them on and off correctly.
That's like, I just want to reiterate what Bobby just said so that we can kind of go back to, if you were on the live stream towards the beginning, we were talking about the epigenome and how gene therapy is so exciting, because what Bobby just said is that our genes didn't change from the time that we were born till now. So we know that it's within our gene. That code is in there to regenerate. So can we have epigenetic effects? Can we change the epigenome to express certain genes to regenerate? And I think, based off all the things that we've just talked about, with all these organisms that don't appear to age and are essentially immortal and can regenerate, I think that the answer is clearly yes. It's just a matter of time before we can figure this stuff out.
And like I said, also what I was talking about is the product that I'm taking turns on a particular gene that stops working as we age. Superoxide dismutase in terms of that. So yeah, not just are they still there, but there's products that not only can replenish and put more of those genes and manipulate the genes, but just products to trigger those genes to turn back on. And simply doing that, there's so many different ways in which we can certainly help our body.
Superoxide dismutase actually the research isn't as impressive. The life extension research, at least, isn't as impressive as I was hoping. Everybody aging kind of one of the first robust definitions of aging was an increase in ROS, reactive oxygen species, and because these rip electrons off of freaking other atoms, and so they're really that's why people take antioxidants and stuff, because of this theory. And so superoxide dismutase has been tested, has been overexpressed in mice and other model organisms, and did not extend lifespan as long as you would think. But that doesn't mean it's not promising research. We should.
How long was that study for on the mice, though?
But how long ago, or
how
what?
long did they test the superoxide dismutase with the mice?
And they found like 3% increase, I think, in average lifespan. So like 3 years.
Can I say something real quick on NRF2? So I was taking Protandim back in like 2012 and 2013. They're, I think, like one of.
Dude,
you take
Max puts that.
That is
regularly.
the product. I didn't want to product say it, but yeah, that is the product.
I mean, dude. So
Dude,
I was.
He does the enema, dude. Protandim enema.
I was taking Protandim NRF2 back in like 2012 and 13, and when I first started taking it, I kind of felt like a superhuman for about a couple weeks, and I was like totally sold on it. And it could have been placebo, but I remember like going to the gym and playing basketball and dodgeball. I was like an animal. And then after a few months, like I started to see the effects kind of like wear off a little bit. And it's not. Maybe I'll give it a try again. Like this is the thing. Like who knows how this stuff fully works? They're just like taking steroids might be completely incredible, right, for certain short-term effects. And then all this, and I don't want to compare NRF2 to steroids, but I'm just saying in general, people like understand that everything that we're saying here, like this shit is crazy, and we're just at the forefront of all this stuff. We're just trying to give you general advice about what we're doing, what the science is showing, and so maybe I'll buy another Protandim and try it out and see how I like it. But I'm taking so many other things. I kind of, if I want to, I go back and forth of like how scientific do I want to do this? Yeah. Because then I'm gonna have to start taking all the other stuff if I want to be truly scientific. Yeah. My goal is to live as long and healthy as possible. So
but there might be synergistic effects. So you should totally take it and see if you feel a difference between what you're taking before and the Protandim. And maybe taking it only for a month and then off a month and for a month. Who knows? The way we strategize taking these.
You're breaking up.
But what's more important, I am.
You broke up. You're good now. You're back.
Okay. So the way you experiment with these, which I'm not advocating anyone to do that, but the way we experiment with these is you see animal models and it's like, okay, you see some impressive stuff in animals, but whatever. So what about human trials? Go on clinicaltrials.gov, look up, or just Google human trials for whatever, Protandim or EGCG, royal jelly, whatever, and see if there's been any clinical trials. There likely are. I've found clinical trials for pretty much everything so far. And so what people do is they target specific diseases. And so, whatever. So you can check for this negative side effects, and so you can look out for those. And I low dose these also, and yeah, dude.
Well, you guys, I'm not surprised why Protandim is working. It's got powerful ingredients like bacopa, ashwagandha, milk thistle, turmeric, green tea. These are
that's green tea. It's the green tea you're feeling, dude.
EGCG, man.
That's what these people do, dude. Bill Andrews did the same thing. Okay.
Bobby cut out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bobby froze.
Bobby,
you cut out. Bobby, the last thing we heard you say was Bill Andrews did the same thing, and then you froze like this. So repeat what you said?
Am I moving now?
Yeah, you're good. Just repeat what you said.
So, dude, this is what these people do. They make these combinations because they can't patent the single molecule. Okay, so they make these combinations, and then they say Protandim on it, and then they trademark maybe some extra words, which is a little weird, a little sketchy.
So, Bobby, can I comment on this? So, first of all, there are certainly companies that are probably doing exactly what Bobby just said. In fact, it's like 100% that there's at least one company doing what Bobby said. But Protandim is an MLM, right? A multi-level marketing or network marketing, whatever you want to call it. But what Protandim, the people who create Protandim, what they claim and what they say is that it does have synergistic effects, that the exact amount of these 5 things put together have a synergetic effect to have that epigenetic effect on your gene. And, I don't know if that's true or not, but that scientific explanation makes perfect sense to me, that there's this just right amount that we need to have to turn on that gene or turn off that gene or turn it up or turn it down. So all I can say personally is that for Protandim, for me, like, I had some pretty awesome energy boosting, and it was pretty noticeable, and I don't think I changed anything else in my life, but it did drop off. So Max, my question for you is, how long have you been taking it, and do you take it every day?
Yeah, so I take it every day. I have it right here in front of me. If you can see that, Protandim. Comes in this little blue bottle here.
Oh, wow. Uh-huh.
And I also do this. I have a dog, so they have a dog form. So I give this to my pet, and it's the same thing, but it's for pets. So it has a little pet symbol on the bottom there. And yeah, it really does work. How
long have you been taking it?
I've been taking it for 4 years.
Have you missed a day, or have you taken it every day?
I missed a day for 4+ years. Not a single day.
When you're fasting, though, is that really still water fasting if you're taking things like that? Because there's calories in there.
Yeah, so I guess so. Part of what I learned in fasting is as long as you're under, so a lot of people, some people say you don't have anything, but a lot of people in the fasting world say as long as you're under 500 calories, you're still in the fasted state. So I feel like having pills and stuff, even though they do have a little bit of calories in them, my personal belief is I don't believe that that's going to get me out of a fasted state.
I generally agree with Max, just, so everybody knows. I think you're probably fine. It's pretty negligible, the amount of calories in there. But, I looked at all the ingredients in Protandim, and I think it's, probably a product that works. Like I said, I already gave my anecdotal experience with it, but I take a lot of other stuff as well, too, that pretty much has the exact same components in there as well. I'm taking Bill Andrews' aging care capsules. I take Isagenix every day. I have Pharmanex here, these things. And, they have all those ingredients in there. So effectively, I kind of am taking Protandim. I'm just not taking that exact product. So,
you guys, I'm just going to leave for a second. You guys carry on without me. I just got to get some water. I'm thirsty.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. Definitely, and I love being, me personally. I always have whatever I'm taking. I feel I want my dogs to feel just as healthy. So, but yeah, I had the similar aspect to it. I really had extra. I felt more energized when I first started taking Protandim. My sleep levels were, I just felt with more energy. When I woke up in the morning, I wasn't lethargic as much. I was more ready to take on the day, but like you said, after a while, 2-3 weeks, a month, you don't really realize that anymore. So my question to you is, maybe you didn't realize, and you just kind of maybe thought it was as a norm, and
I don't think so. I think there was a little bit of that, but I remember it was a 2-week mark. I was like an animal in basketball in the dodgeball gym. I had crazy energy. Keep in mind, this is 2012. So I'll be 35 next month. I was basically 27, 28 years old. And you kind of know how your body is at that point in time. You're pretty familiar with it. I've exercised. I've pretty much never stopped playing dodgeball or basketball for a long period of time, other than 2018, where my wife and I traveled the world. So I hadn't done that at that point. And so I just had crazy energy for a while after taking Protandim. And that was, I remember, I was trying to be a scientist at that point in time in my experiment. And that was the only thing that I changed in my lifestyle at that point in time, was adding Protandim.
Yeah, another question that I had with you too is, this is kind of similar within the fasting protocol. Do you believe that drinking a lot of water helps with aging and weight loss and all those kind of things and health.
So before I answer that question, this came up in the Joe Rogan Aubrey de Grey interview a couple of days ago, and I knew this about Aubrey. That's why I said I didn't personally learn a whole lot from this Joe Rogan Aubrey de Grey interview, but that's just because I've followed the man in longevity so long for so much. But Aubrey de Grey does not drink much water at all. I mean, he drinks beer, and that's about it, and he's doing pretty well. However, with that being said, yeah, I drink water like all the time, and I try and drink really clean water whenever I can. So, yeah, I will say that you don't want to go overboard on it, probably. I think you can have too much of anything, even water. I mean, you could literally drink so much water that it kills you. That's a known phenomenon. It's
toxic to your body. Yeah.
Right. So I don't try to go overboard on it, but yeah, I mean, I try and stay hydrated. But here's the thing. I'm also not a freak about it. If I'm at home all day and air conditioning and I'm not exercising much, then I don't need as much water. I'm not just like drinking constantly for no reason. So this whole 8 glasses a day water thing is a total myth. You can Google it and research. There's good YouTube videos on it. It's a total myth. You just need to stay, I think it's important to stay hydrated. Now, there is dry fasting, which is beneficial as well, too. It actually gets your body into autophagy faster than water fasting. However, like, be super careful if you're going to try that stuff, guys. Like, I don't want to constantly be I'm not giving medical advice, but seriously on this one, like, don't go too long without drinking water. I've never gone.
Water is definitely a lot riskier to go that route in terms of fasting than it is food. I've seen trials with people living even a year without food, 30 days, 60 days without food, but water has been proven you have to have at least, I don't bring up.
Aren't we like majority water?
Yeah, we are. We're like 67 to 70% water on our, in our bodies and salt water. And I'll just tell my real quick story on dry fasting. So, I've been interested in fasting for many years, but around 2016 is where I really started going down the rabbit hole, like watching YouTube videos, researching hardcore online, and dry fasting kept coming up. And I didn't know what that was at the time. It's kind of embarrassing now, but I found out dry fasting was literally drinking no water, putting nothing in your body for a certain period of time. It's called dry fasting. And my first reaction was like, these people are crazy, But what I found from researching more is that, it does induce autophagy faster. And what I found from actually trying it, and I do this now, I try not to drink anything or eat anything about 4 hours before I go to bed. Then if I'm sleeping about 8 hours, I'm already at 12 hours dry fast when I wake up in the morning. And what I found when I started doing dry fasting or longer dry fasting is that my first pee in the morning was actually had way more clear. It was less dark than it was when I would drink at night, right? And this is counterintuitive.
Different than what they say. They say when you drink more water, it's more clear, and then you drink less water, it's
counterintuitive. And here's the reason scientifically why that is, according to the dry fasting stuff that I've looked into. When you're actually dry fasting, your body goes into autophagy. But what is autophagy? What it is it's taking those ketones and you're living off of those ketones rather than living off your glucose, right? So you're then taking those ketones, which are, fat, and those fat have water molecules in them. So you're living off the fat as energy, right? And then the water gets released into your body. And from the videos that I've watched, right, don't take this as the gospel, but from the videos that I've watched from what I believe are trusted people on YouTube, like Thomas DeLauer, Dr. Michael Berg, they say that water that's stored in your ketones is like super pure H2O. So your body's actually staying hydrated. And I was skeptical, but if you want to give it a try, that's what I actually found, is that my peas were super more clear in the morning when I was dry fasting. But I've never gone
so that though, that's ketosis is what that is. That's different, completely different than autophagy.
I misspoke. I meant to say ketosis, not autophagy. Thank you, Max.
So Humankind in the audience says, how much do you guys spend each month on these pills?
So way too much. That's why I always recommend, it's all about your personal financial situation and what you know about health and what your personal health goals are. So, I mean, this is $800 right here for this one thing. Like, that's super expensive, I mean, I don't recommend anybody do anything that's not right for them.
$800 for a month's supply.
Well, it's 800 bottles for 90 capsules. You could take, 4 capsules a day, or you could take one every month. It's totally up to you. It activates telomerase when you take it. So,
What I tend to do is just buy things in bulk. And so I don't even spend things like monthly. I'll just like buy a bunch of bulk powders from like bulksupplements.com. And I found that if you buy things that when they're not in capsules, when you buy just pure powders and like in bulk bags, you can get a lot of things pretty affordable. I honestly don't even know. I think I spent like maybe $1,000 in the last 6 months or something.
I mean, that's just more reason why it's so important that we, spread the word and spread the awareness. Because if we can get more people aware and start buying some of these life extension treatments, that drives the cost down, right? Everybody knows about supply and demand. If there's more people buying the product, then the manufacturers, the ones that are creating this product, can start selling and making less of a profit margin per item sold, so they can pay for the bills, right? So we all know about Walmart, right? Walmart is so cheap because they have such a high, they sell so many items that they can take a super small profit margin on per item sold basis and still be profitable and still pay the bills. So if we can get as much people as possible to know about it and spread the word, then we can get all that $800 supplement to make it affordable for everybody to take, because that's the key question here is try to make it affordable.
Yeah, and
as of right now, a lot of the treatments are for rich people that have a lot of money.
And the more we can figure out the true science of anti-aging, which will unfold over time, I believe, hopefully the less and less we can, have to take all this crap. Like, I don't want to have to do all this shit. Like, no offense to you guys, I don't even really want to be doing all this. I'm doing this because it's important. I want to, if we cure aging one day, I'm going to completely start focusing on other stuff. I want to go off into the stars. Maybe I'll sit around and just watch movies for like 10 years straight. I don't know, or just play a bunch of basketball or new sports. Like, I have so many other interests. Life is so interesting. I don't want to be taking all these pills all the time and researching all this crap. I'm doing it because I don't want to get old. That's why I'm doing it.
Exactly. Like,
And
who wants to take a bunch of pills? No, it's not what we want. We want to be like doing fun things and being creative and our real passions and stuff.
And I there's one of the key things that I always talk about people that say, oh, well, why would you want to live forever? Eventually things are going to get boring. You're going to watch every movie. You're going to play basketball all the time. It's going to eventually every single thing you do is going to get boring. I always reply to them that knowledge is everlasting. You can always learn about new things, and knowledge is actually really fascinating. So you just imagine still being able to learn and learn and learn and learn.
Yeah.
That's an everlasting thing. It's just learning and knowledge.
And helping people is everlasting. It's like that movie Pay It Forward. You should never get being bored is so narcissistic because if you think about all the different people you can help and how each person is their only unique case, and to crack the code to help and fix a person, it's never ending. Like, to actually help people, this should never get boring.
The only time I'd be even remotely, I think the only time I'd ever be even remotely worried about getting bored would be if I was like incarcerated and I had no access to information. I can meditate, I can exercise maybe in a jail cell, but after a while that might start to get closest to what I could call boring. But as long
even
as
in a jail cell, you have books for knowledge. You can still.
Well, I'm
learn.
saying, like, if I was in like solitude or something like that, you know what I mean, where I didn't have those type of things. If I was just stuck in a cell all day with no access to information, that would probably be the worst thing for me to kind of start to consider that I could actually get bored. But as long as I have access to the internet and like my normal lifestyle, bored isn't even. I go to sleep every night being like, man, I have so much more I need to get done.
There's a quote that says, only boring people get bored,
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. Hey, guys, speaking of parasites, we were talking about parasites earlier, and I never got a chance to mention this, but have you guys heard the theory that aging itself, a lot of the age-related diseases are actually caused by a parasite called nanobacteria? And one of the patterns with age-related diseases, you'll find that a lot of them are related to calcification, like calcifying of the different organs, calcifying, calcium accumulating in the arteries. All these age-related diseases have a calcium component, and there's this theory that these microscopic parasites called nanobacteria will create shells, and they multiply exponentially in your body as you get older. And they create little shells, like they're little oysters, and they create little barnacles. Like imagine little barnacles accumulating in your arteries and your different organs, and it's all a parasite. This is a theory. This is according to the theory. And there's this interesting book called The Calcium Bomb, which talks about this. The nanobacteria link to heart disease and cancer. So that's something interesting to think about.
So it all comes back to that like word nano, right? That gets thrown around. Nano means a billionth, so a nanometer is a billionth of a meter. So I guess my question is, how nano are these, and have we actually, truly discovered them with actual scientific, electron microscopes or whatever? And I've never heard of this theory or book, and my general first inclination would be that I think it probably wouldn't be true. I would not have heard of it from now. But then my other side of my says is, Brent, stop being such an egomaniac. Like maybe it is true, and nobody's, So Rowan, have you actually read this book or looked into it? What do you know about it?
I have not read the book, but I originally heard the theory from David Wolf, who is a he's like this herbalist guy.
I met him at Burning Man when the man was burning in 2013. It was pretty crazy.
Oh, cool.
Hey guys. So something super important. We need to come up with questions right now for Keith, because he just said that he's available this weekend, but he's like, I've been waiting on your questions. Dude, I keep getting in so much trouble.
I have good questions for him. Why does he? I'd say, Bobby, in general, what I told you is let's try and just get people on without pre-questions. But if you've already, committed him to that, then I can throw some your way. But I got a lot of them in my head for him.
Okay.
So
yeah, you guys want to start writing those right now, so I can send that over to him real quick.
I'm actually gonna probably go to the gym tonight, and I have to eat dinner and go to the gym, and maybe we can come up with questions.
I can get you some over, Bobby. How long is the interview? Have you guys committed to a time frame?
No.
All right, because honestly, I could. We just Zoomed with Keith last weekend for 2 hours, and we're like kind of what we were just talking about. I'm never going to run out of things to ask. So I have tons of questions for Keith that we could ask.
Yeah.
It's not a worry for me, but if he's asking that he needs questions before he actually commits to
I told him. I told him that I would give him questions.
Okay. So here's what I'll say. Don't do that anymore. Just get people to commit, and then we'll just ask them the questions when we're there.
Because I want them to have really good answers for when we talk.
No, you want them to be on the fly, like a Joe Rogan.
No, dude. That's why Joe Rogan F's up, dude. That's why his Elon Musk podcast was as big as it could have been, because he didn't do any research, which is the worst decision you can make when it comes to Elon Musk, because, dude, the guy is doing the most impressive things.
Listen, Joe Rogan has 7.6 million subscribers for a reason. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. Could he do better in certain ways? Sure. But there's an improv aspect to this that makes it fun. If you remove that improv aspect and you start staging questions, it becomes a completely different format. I'm just letting you know. Those are two separate things.
I agree.
Okay, so then my response is and it's one thing to improv on comedians, but another thing to improv on scientists. And then I think it's better to get the talking points out of the way our first video, and then the second video, that's when you kind of do the improv more. And yeah.
Do you mean the second interview with the same individual?
Yeah.
Well, here's my thing. I've only interviewed people individually, personally, and I do pretty well with the format that I do, I think. But because we're all such different individuals and we're coming from different backgrounds and have different questions, I do think that it could be productive for us to kind of sync up and, sync up on the questions we want to ask. Yeah. But personally, I could interview Keith Komeito for probably 3 straight hours, and I'm pretty sure that when those 3 hours are up, we could just keep going.
I think you're correct in the end. because I'm doing more trouble than it helps me honestly, because then I can organize my thoughts, and it forces me to make questions now.
Right.
But at the same time, like if I'm fucking not, god damn it, I need to stop saying that F word. But if I'm messing up now, I'm not sending them questions, and it's like now we just look unprofessional.
Yeah. No, I see what you mean in this particular case, but in general, let's stop doing that because it just kind of creates more work for us than necessary, and we don't want to do that. But
you guys want to spend like 2 minutes and make a quick list of questions, and if any fans have any questions for Keith Comito, then
I want to ask him. I want to ask him if he wants to live forever. That's my question, and I want to ask.
He clearly does. He might not answer it that way. Like, he might not use that language forever. But I know from watching enough interviews of him or videos of him on YouTube that he wants to live as long as possible.
Yeah.
That's why he's the founder of longevity.io. That's why he founded the company.
And if he says yes or whatever, I want to say, why? Why does he want to live forever? And then I'll ask him how he intends on living forever.
What even is Lifespan.io? Is that just media?
What'd you say, Bobby? I couldn't hear you.
What even is Lifespan.io?
What is it?
Yeah.
Dude, it's an awesome website. Now I understand more of what you said about Jason. We're live streaming right now, so we'll talk about this afterwards. Lifespan.io is an incredible website. Keith is like pretty incredible. I'm really excited to interview him.
Is he a member of Cryonics?
I don't know.
Okay, that's a question.
So there you go. There's a question. So one thing that could be fun is we could ask like scientific questions. So I normally, when we do interviews, I like to understand a little bit about the person's background. I think it's important to kind of let them open up, like why are they passionate about this stuff, things like that. And then maybe towards the end or something, we could do rapid fire. Are you a member of Cryonics? Like boom, 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 things like that, like yes, no type questions. Or it doesn't have to be at the end. They could do different formats, rapid fire questions, more long form questions, things like that.
So he worked with Disney, right? You said he worked with Disney? Somebody said that.
So we need to kind of, we're live.
Disney Plus, help with Disney Plus and forming it.
Yeah, we're live streaming right now, guys. So let's make sure we don't say anything because we were on a private meeting with him and some things I think he wanted to keep private.
Okay.
Yeah. Very important.
Let's talk about Keith offline because I don't want to. Okay. I promise you, Bobby, we can get good questions, and
okay.
I'm free except for 12:30 to 3 o'clock tomorrow. I'm free every other time, Pacific time.
Okay, I wanted to send them out tonight because we'd be talking with them tomorrow or Sunday.
Okay.
You guys just want to end this stream soon and just talk about it?
Sure.
I have to end the stream soon either way for me soon. I gotta get to bed soon. But yeah, Bobby, I could send you a bunch of questions for Keith.
Okay, sweet.
Like we can guys. Like why did you found Lifespan.io? Why did you found Lifespan.io? How long have you been interested in longevity? How much have you learned? What are the most exciting things? Like the same kind of things we've been talking about in this interview are all good questions for him,
Brent, could you do like a Google Doc so we can all have access to and kind of see what the questions are, live? That way we can, research what to talk about through those questions.
I was just gonna send them on our Facebook message group in there so we can all see that. But Bobby, I assume it sounds like you're taking notes right now from the things that we've just been talking about, right?
Yeah.
Cool. I think a good question for him is what kind of media and other things do you think need to be produced to get this message out to the masses, the longevity message to the masses?
Excellent.
Because I know that's something he's really interested in and he's talked about in some of his speeches.
Bobby, is this the same guy that we talked to on Facebook?
I don't know. Probably.
Okay.
So it's Keith Comito. It's Comito, and yeah, he's a pretty smart dude. He's He's got a pretty impressive background the more you look into it. And he's tied into a lot of the top players, in longevity. George Church, David Sinclair. He's, tied into the FDA because of Lifespan.io. And he knows a lot about what's going on with clinical trials and stuff like that. And Aubrey de Grey. So he's a pretty awesome guy, honestly. Like the things that he's been involved in the background. And he's pretty much done Lifespan.io all as a 501c3 nonprofit charity, not just giving so much to the cause and building like very useful tools for people.
Yeah, he's impressive.
I would love to know what his confidence level of.
That's a great question.
Of how confident is he that in our lifetime would we be able to find a cure to aging? I think that's something huge because that and so the confidence level is something that I would love to ask him. And another question that I would love to ask him too is if money was not an issue, if literally you had unlimited amount of money, what would you do to extend your life like right now? What treatments / surgeries / gene therapies, everything. What would you do if money was not an option? And then to follow up on that, what would you do for people that are of low income, that don't have a lot of money, that are, really limited in funds? What can they do to, help extend their lives if they can't afford, any of the treatments?
And on that, real quick, you guys, one thing that I don't think we've ever talked about in our live blogs that I'm super, super excited about and been following very closely is exosomes, and particularly a company called Chimera Labs. I've interviewed their founder and CEO, Duncan Ross. Yeah, it's like Dr. Ed Park. He's a friend, and I interviewed him in March. And when I interviewed him on March 30th last year at his anti-aging practice in Orange County, he had just injected his mom with exosomes, and she had immediate results, like the next day, like incredible results, and she's in her 80s. So then he injected himself, I think, a couple weeks later.
The stem cells are way better, man.
Well, so mesenchymal stem cells secrete exosomes. So
yeah,
it's basically like it takes the mesenchymal stem cells a time period to secrete them. So like when I had stem cells injected in December of 2018, I didn't get my real results. I got some little results within a few days, but I didn't get my real healing for about 2.5 months. And then
isn't it really basically a type of cell that you can manipulate to act in any way you want? Basically, isn't that basically essentially what it is?
So there's when you say
probably have induced pluripotence.
Yeah, so there's many different types of stem cells. There's pluripotent stem cells, induced pluripotent stem cells. What I had injected are what's called mesenchymal or mesenchymal stem cells. They are pericytes, not parasite that we've been talking about. Parasite is Parasite. They are pericytes, Pericyte. They bind to like capillaries, and they secrete certain things like trophic factors, cytokines, and exosomes. And so the exosomes are intracellular. So they're in your cell, they come out of your cell, and then they go out and they go in other cells, and they carry RNA and mRNA, and they basically, have strong epigenetic effects on the cells and basically tell them to behave younger. But without getting into all the science, like the anecdotal things that I've been following on Dr. Ed Park's, password protected blogs, he's done 31 blogs now in the last 11 months, showing detailed results of his patients he's been injecting with all sorts of different chronic conditions. It is remarkable, and he's not lying. He's not making this stuff up. He'll get some people to do testimonial YouTube videos in some cases. I mean, we're talking really fast results too. It normally happens within days rather than months for the.
I think the key thing that needs to happen with stem cells is it needs to last longer, and not just die off and your body rejects it eventually. So that's the key thing.
I don't necessarily think it's your body rejecting it.
They might last a long time. For example, they put them inside the spinal cord, and that could be different because it just kind of gets stuck in there. But
so one of the biggest theories of aging is the stem cell theory of aging, right? So
Yeah.
the more you understand stem cells, and particularly mesenchymal stem cells, like right now, my son is 14 weeks old, and he's already lost like so many of his stem cells, right? Just from the gestation period percentage. And at our age right now, or in our like 20s and 30s, we already have 90% of the mesenchymal stem cells that we've ever had are gone. So we're going on like the final 10%. By the time you're at like my wife's grandma's age of like 95, she's got like 1% of her mesenchymal stem cells left. So like they're doing their job, there's just not enough of them. So what you're saying, Max, is credible. It's important. Like I think they need to last longer. Well, I think people just probably they're getting good results from stem cell injections like what I had. They just need more of them. The problem is this stuff is like super expensive right now, you know? So it just needs to be developed more. And I think that if people are already getting good results with the stem cells and exosomes are getting injected now, my answer is generally like, hey, like more is better in general. Obviously, there's a limit to everything, like we talked about, with even too much water can kill you. But I think right now they're being super conservative with the amount of exosomes and stem cells that these doctors and clinics feel comfortable injecting people. And I think that what we'll find over time is that we've been pretty conservative and we can actually do more and more and more for benefits for the body.
Hey, and a parasite is not good for you.
Well, yeah, that's why the mesenchymal stem cells are pericytes, Pericyt. Yeah.
That's a parasite.
Well, some parasites are good for you. There are some parasites that are good for you. I know it's not generally talked about like that in the public.
Has anyone seen the movie Parasite that won all the awards at the Oscars?
No, the South Korean movie.
I tried watching some of it. I didn't understand why people liked it.
That's what happens with so many Oscar movies. I feel like the one from a few years ago with the I don't know. It's all political and stuff.
Doing? I didn't understand at all. Like I watched like a few clips. I was like, dude, what is going on? Like I did not understand.
Hey guys, I gotta wrap this live stream up because I gotta go to the gym. My friends are going to the gym right now. So
dude, just leave and we'll stay on.
I gotta get to bed, fellas. It's been fun.
Yeah.
All right, I emailed you guys. I emailed you the outline, and dude, honestly, just it's all pretty much done. Just add like 3 or 4 more questions. Email it back and then I'll send it off to Keith.
Just send it to Keith and be like, hey, this is a general outline. We'll probably have a few more questions, but let us know if you have any like issues with the questions, or if you have any things that are super important, we can plug you as well too. We don't want it just be us like lobbing questions at you. We want him to be able to, talk and plug the things he wants to plug and say the things he wants to say. All
right. So closing thoughts. Thank you guys. Thank you, audience, for participating. Thank you guys, everyone who participated in this cool, awesome conversation. We'll do more of these.
Yeah, how many people are on?
7 concurrent viewers, 7 likes, 7.
Dude, we're famous.
What? Yeah. 8 concurrent viewers. Yay. Okay, cool.
All right, you guys just want to go in a circle with closing thoughts?
All right. My closing thoughts are I'll be the last closing thoughts. You guys go.
Okay.
Aging is complex. We're trying to figure it out. Listen to the smartest people. Don't follow the noise. Be careful who you follow on the internet because, everybody's worried about the food they're putting in their body in general, right? And people talk about that. It is important, but be really careful about the ideas that you put in your mind. It's really, really important you don't put bad ideas in your mind. And it's also important to keep an open mind and think critical. So if you get in a bad pattern, if you have been believing bad or wrong ideas, that you're keep an open enough mind to recognize that and keep learning and growing. So that's a really important message that I tell myself. Audit my own thoughts every single day. That's my new form of meditation I do. I think about am I doing the right thing? Am I is this really a strategy I want to keep moving on, or do I want to change my thought process? So in general, I want to encourage people to kind of think about that, because we have to think differently if we're really going to cure aging or end aging or defeat death or whatever you want to call it. If we're going to make real progress on this, we have to think differently and work together more.
Yeah, and
That's
just
really
a caveat on that is it's not just open your mind up, but understand that you can't put all your eggs in one basket. You know, you got to be looking at several different ways in which we can accomplish this goal. It's not just one. I believe, my personal belief is, I believe that there's going to be multiple different things that we could do, and combination of together to maximize our lifespan. And it's always good to have multiple. You don't just put everything in one basket. You just gotta keep on researching, and I feel that's the best way of going about things, for sure. And last thing too, I was wanting to close is it's important that we all start worrying about this and taking care of our bodies now. Not, that's the most common thing with aging, is people don't start worrying about aging until until they're in their 80s and 90s already. So I would encourage everybody to start now, because the earlier you start, the better it is. The better it's going to be. I really attest to that, and I'm sure every one of these guys can attest to that too. So those are my closing thoughts.
All right.
And so yeah, people, we are defeating death in the near future. There's a pretty good amount of evidence for that already, and the evidence is accumulating. Help us out with getting the word out, right? A lot of big companies do not want to defeat death, and so it is our duty. And scientists are doing a very poor job at getting this information out. Okay, there's only a few that are doing a good job at getting the information out, and even they aren't doing that great of a job. So it's really up to us, okay, to get this word out. Which means subscribe to our channels, right? Life Extension Research YouTube channel is my channel. You got Brent Nally, you got Eternal Life Fan Club, okay? You got Transhumania. Okay, so, we're gonna be posting our podcast pretty soon. Our podcast that we're doing together, and we're gonna post our interviews. So make sure you subscribe to our channels and donate to our Patreons, etc. And because we are talking to experts and we research this stuff quite a bit, and many of us are going to be directly involved in the research. So we know what to do with the money. We are obsessed with living. Okay, so we're not going to be greedy with the money. Okay, like we are going to be minimalists. And so
we're not buying mansions
really
and stuff like that. We're not doing stupid things. We're going to be reinvesting all of our money into living longer for therapies.
All of our money. Oh yeah, dude. Okay, like freaking A. And it's going to be a beautiful journey that we're all going to have on together. And yeah, we look forward to living with you forever.
Heck yeah. Wonderful. All right, and my closing thoughts will be about fear. The fear of death. Many people watching this channel, many Eternal Life fans, are, very fearful people. And I say, embrace that fear and learn how to channel that fear into something positive. Like, you have to learn how to transmute that fear of death into an obsession for eternal life and use it to drive you forward and to act.
Oh yeah.
The fear can cause you to act, and it can save your life. It doesn't have to just stress you. It doesn't have to just be this stressful, paralyzing type of fear. It can be a motivational fear. So learn how to channel your fear into an obsession with eternal life, and don't let anyone tell you that it's, you're crazy or whatever. Like, it's okay to be obsessed with eternal life. Eternal life is the best thing ever. It's the most important goal. So just keep your eye on the prize. We can live forever. And may all you guys live forever. I hope to see you guys around in millions and billions of years and forever. Let's do it. Let's live forever. Peace out.
Preach on, Brother Rowan.
Yeah. Peace out, you guys.